issue should be addressed quickly to prevent the country from falling into a fiscal abyss. Such austerity programs, Odinga added, are more often than not implemented with the sole interest of satisfying debt repayment at the expense of the livelihoods of Kenyans. Odinga partly attributed the country's debt to corruption, pointing out that his government will strive to ensure that Kenya does not fault on debt repayment.
Any fight against corruption is politicized. If anybody is investigated by investigative authorities and is arrested or being charged, there's always the cry that, oh, so-and-so is being targeted because he's my supporter. So is being because he's my supporter. So they cannot really fight against this corruption internally because of internal contradictions within the Jubilee government itself. We'll have to seek the indulgence and cooperation of our development partners to negotiate our debt. I will also audit our debt to establish its actual size.
Now, Jackson Kibore, a businessman and politician from Eldoret, Western County, is dead. According to the family, Kibore succumbed to a long illness Wednesday at St. Luke's Hospital in Eldoret. He was in his late 80s. Kibore had been using medical oxygen since October 2020 after he contracted COVID-19. He was recently admitted at St. Luke's Hospital, where doctors confirmed his 2 kidneys had failed. The prominent farmer was admitted to the intensive care unit for some time before doctors confirmed his death Wednesday. Kibore was nicknamed the chairman of the men's conference. Kibore had over 20 children. Our thoughts and condolences to the family of Kibore. Now, former Safari Rally driver Vic Preston Jr. is dead. The rally icon took his last breath Tuesday night in Seychelles after what his family reported to be pneumonia-related problems. Vic Preston Jr. was a well-known figure in the rally circles here in Kenya as he first entered the iconic East African Safari Rally in 1966, aged just 16, in a Ford Cortina GT navigated by Garish Roberts. Born from a motorsport enthusiastic family, Vic Jr. would go on to compete in several motorsport activities, including motorbike racing, following in his father Vic Preston Sr.'s footsteps in becoming a champion. He raced 21 times in the World Rally Championship category, securing podium places twice, his last being the Marlborough Safari Rally in 1980 and 9 retirements overall. His best finish in the WRC was in the 1978 Safari Rally, when he finished second overall and first in Kenya. He won a total of 16 rallies here in Kenya, securing the podium places 25 times during his memorable career. Now, British-Iranian nationals Nazneen Zaghari-Ratcliffe and Anoshe Ashuri are back in the UK after being freed from years of Iranian detention. The pair touched down at RAF Breeze Norton in Oxfordshire earlier today. Their release came after months of negotiations between the British and Iranian government. A picture taken inside the building at the airport and posted by Ashuri's daughter, Elika Ashuri, showed both returnees standing in a group with their families. Writing on Twitter, UK Foreign Secretary Liz Truss, who was also at the airport, said they are delighted that Nazneen and Anoshe landed safely in the UK and are united with their families and loved ones. The pair left Iranian capital Tehran for the UK via Oman shortly after being freed Wednesday. It marked the end of an ordeal that, for Ms. Zaghari-Ratcliffe, a project manager for the Thomson Reuters Foundation, began in 2016 when she was accused of plotting to overthrow the Iranian government. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
The following takes place between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack
is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislature are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi Lawokov?
I can't say it very well. Well, Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room.
All right. Getting to the tail end of the week, and what does it look like in these Nairobi streets? It looks like it's just building up on Jogger Road today. It doesn't look like it'll be too crazy, at least not for now. It looks like folks have decided we'll wait a little while before we all get on the streets, because it looks pretty good on the Thika Superhighway. We're seeing some traffic coming off Waiyaki Way, and that looks like it might just go a tad crazy, but we'll have an eye on things and see what it looks like. CBD is already buzzing with some action this morning. Juja Road also a little bit here and there, and we're also seeing that normal action morning hours on Mombasa Road, especially around Imaradaiwa. But nothing too bad right now. If you haven't left, you still have a good time. Let's talk about it in half an hour and see what it looks like then. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This
Happy
is the
17th
Situation.
day of March. Good morning. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. It's Thursday. It's the first Friday of the week. It's still March 2022. Ndu,
Yes?
how was your Wednesday?
Was all right. Yeah.
Very good.
I slept like a baby, man. Until I was being asked questions from
In your sleep or when you woke up?
everywhere.
What are they asking?
What's wrong? Are you sick?
Oh,
Are
because
you
of sleeping like a baby.
This?
You know how
Middle
babies
of the
sleep?
day.
Babies sleep for 5 minutes up. They want to eat. Feed. That's how you slept.
No. I slept like a well-satisfied and dry baby. You get it?
So they asked you now, are you sleeping?
You
like
hear
this?
me? The sun is up. People are working for their bread. You are here sleeping.
Hey, City.
Yes, Eric.
Habari yako bwana Muga?
Mimi
Old Muga.
mimi niko mzima. Yes.
Kamkaje?
Nashukuru nimeamka vizuri. Yes.
Very good.
And you, how are you doing, sir?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes.
I'm happy to hear
I slept like a log.
You see, log and babies. Put a log next to a baby.
They sleep well together. Okay.
Log. Log. As in the product of a tree.
Yeah.
Oh.
It slept like a log, yani.
Okay.
It didn't move.
Totally.
It was not normal.
No, Murray, you would have issues. But this time, None at all. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Several conversations to have today. We will talk about bridging the gap in healthcare. Right? We'll be joined by two doctors from the Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital who'll be here with us from 8 o'clock. We'll be talking about that, about what exactly KUTRRH are doing to bridge the gap. We know that they are signing several deals and working on how to improve access to healthcare, especially for all their customers. How is KU then working as a level 6 and all? Okay, and especially that aspect of research, because then it's important, and it's important they put it there in their name, KU Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital. So that aspect of research will be very, very good to understand. Then we'll talk to a gentleman called Edwin Adoga Otichilo from the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. Politics and elections in Kenya, what we see, what we are witnessing, the ups and downs, the preparations. Remember, party nominations are due to begin in a couple of days' time, in weeks' time. We'll have verification of the voter exercise, of the voter register taking place soon. We've seen IEBC has already identified an audit firm to do that job of auditing the voter register, and then verification begins. All these things we head towards the election, just keeping tabs on what's happening. Keep it here for that and more. Let's look at COVID.
Let's do it. All right. What are we looking at in global numbers? 464 million. The World Health Organization has spoken yet again. Let's look at what's happening in Kenya first, though, really quickly. Ministry of Health, 15 new cases, positivity rate 0.3%, from a sample size of 4,801, 0 recorded deaths, still good numbers. And the question is, yesterday I think we saw quite a number. I believe it was in Kwale County, and then Mombasa County as well. But the question was, why are we not vaccinating as many people as we should? Or why are as many people not getting vaccinated as they were about a month ago? And the clinical officer who was on ground there said, we used to be able to, we were vaccinating at some time when things were really high up there, about 10,000 people even in a day. But now we're doing less than 300, 400 in a day. And they're also asking the question, why are people not coming out and getting vaccinated? It's not as though there is vaccines are available in large numbers, large quantities, but people are just not coming out to get vaccinated. And that came from her, and she said, well, we don't know what's going on here. Same thing was replicated, or rather, same thing was reported coming out of Mombasa. There's a particular story that was done there. And so the thing is, across country, we've seen, I don't know what to call it, lethargy, apathy, just not happening in terms of vaccinations, right? Still under 30%, likely again to get to 30% in the next couple of days. But here is what we are looking at. All right, so let's look at what the World Health Organization is saying as US students are staging walkouts over masks. 2/3 of American schools have dropped mask requirements. There are students fighting to keep those requirements in place over public health concerns, right? And so this is the opposite that you would expect. Folks are saying, we want to wear the masks because we're getting into the spring season, so hay fever is up and about, and we don't understand why we have to be in the presence of others who may not be taking health concerns seriously. The World Health Organization says there's a rise in COVID cases, and this is the tip of the iceberg. Figures showing a global rise in COVID-19 could herald a much bigger problem, as some countries also report a drop in testing rates. According to the World Health Organization, warning nations to remain vigilant against the virus. More than a month of decline. Cases started to increase around the world last week. We see lockdowns in Asia and China's Jilin province battling to contain an outbreak. We looked at that 5,000 cases. A combination of factors are causing the increases, including the highly transmissible Omicron variant and its BA.2 sublineage, so descendant of it, and the lifting of public health and social measures. All of this combined have led to These increases are occurring despite reductions in testing in some countries, according to Tedros Ghebreyesus. And he says low vaccination rates in some countries, driven partly by a huge amount of misinformation, also explain the rise. And he says if we continue in this way, we're likely to see that when folks were waving goodbye to COVID, it might be not quite gone just yet. Right? And we're looking at increases of 25% in South Korea, 27% in terms of deaths. It's said that Africa saw a 12% rise in new cases and 14% rise in deaths. Europe saw a 2% rise in cases, but no jump in deaths. And the World Health Organization is saying we shouldn't sit back on our laurels just yet.
What on earth are they talking about?
It's possible for things to get worse.
You know, this COVID conversation can be confusing. If you don't stick to the simple fact that COVID hasn't gone anywhere, and that what we're seeing is COVID doing its rounds and doing what we need to be learning from. These huge declarations that people understand as a declaration that COVID is over are harmful. Okay, we are no longer wearing masks in the country. True. But we should be prepared to wear them again.
This is exactly what the World Health Organization is saying.
Oh, really?
This is what they're saying.
Okay.
That, look, guys, this thing has not gone. And be ready for a much worse situation.
Did they need to have the spikes that we are seeing in Southeast Asia for them to come up and say this? This is something they could have said earlier. When we had all this calm and quiet, that's when they should have been saying it. So
Actually,
yes, Eric?
they've been saying it. It's just that, they say it, but they also understand that, they are not an enforcer. It's governments that are just enforcers of whatever they want to do. And so they play it safe. COVID, anyway.
Eric, a virus that has shown you its full potential. You want to play safe with it. You've seen what it can do. You're not guessing anymore. You've seen, you've understood, you've seen the ravages it causes. And then you want to play safe with it. Okay?
It's the politics of it. That's what all these countries are doing. You get to a point where they say, okay, it's okay, just let's move back to life and see what we can do about it. 18 minutes after 6, Kenya's biggest conversation. Live streaming on YouTube and Facebook, and also having the conversations on Twitter at SpiceFM KE and Instagram as well. Our handle, SpiceFM KE. Let's take a quick break, take a look at the weather forecast, and then shortly we'll hear the day's proverb. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo-soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Proverb of the day, brought to you by Communications Authority of Kenya. Proverb of the day, brought to you by Communications Authority of Kenya. Teach your kids about online threats and how to stay safe online by reporting incidences of internet misuse to ke-cirt.go.ke or call 0703 042 700. Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution.
17 degrees and mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 29, pretty warm for the capital, and lows of 15 today. 16 degrees and clear in Nakuru, highs of 30 and lows of 14. 12 will be the low in a partly cloudy Nyeri, highs of 29, while highs of 26 will be realized in Eldoret. It's 15 and clear at the moment. Will come down to lows of 13. Mostly clear in Mombasa at 26, highs of 32 today, and we'll see highs of 32 as well in Malindi, where it's mostly clear at 26. Light rain in Kisumu this morning at 22. 22, highs of 28 and lows of 19. While in Kakamega, it's raining as well at 20. It'll go to highs of 28 and lows of 16. It's partly cloudy in Kampala at 21, highs of 29 and lows of 20, while it's mostly clear in Dar es Salaam at 26, highs of 32 and lows of 26. Raining in Johannesburg at 14, we'll see highs of 19 and lows of 12, while Lagos is mostly clear for now at 27, we'll see highs of 33. 32 will be the high in a clear Kinshasa currently at 24. It's 3 degrees and partly sunny early afternoon into Thursday. We'll see highs of 3 and lows of -2 in Beijing. 10 degrees and cloudy in Paris, highs of 14 and lows of 4, while London is clear at 6. It'll go to highs of 15, back down to lows of 6. It's still Wednesday night in New York. It's 8 degrees, however, and clear. We'll see highs of 18 and lows of 7.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Mornings.
Okay,
Right.
21 minutes after 6.
Kisumu, Komarok. Bonjour, says Agola Linda. Everybody, Kabiria Kenothia Center. This is where folks are this morning. Simon, McDonald, Lau, Aaron, Abdikadir, everybody says good morning. Who else is online? Davy Mwana Ireri says, good morning, Team TSR. And he says, welcome to the best show south of the Sahara Desert, north of the Great River Limpopo, east of the Ruwenzori Mountains, and west of the magnificent Indian Ocean. Weh! How's that for geography this morning? He says, watching live from the comfort of his living room. Oh, Karibu Sana. Lois Kodwol says, good morning, Indus, Eric and CT. Have a great day. You too. Good morning from Maganyakulo, Ukraine. Kaiser, really?
From where?
Maganyakulo.
Sawa basi.
Sawa?
What are you doing there, Kaiser? Are you part of the Foreign Legion?
Perhaps. Listening in from Dubai. That's where Rundu is this morning. Johnston says he's watching from Kericho, and George Mashuki is already tuned in. This time, MCR Muli Kimanzi is not in Nyali. He is in Moi Ward in Kitui County, and he says, Kama mbegu ya parachichi. Qu'est-ce que c'est parachichi?
I have absolutely no clue what a parachichi is.
What a parachichi?
Avocado.
Ondakado.
Parachichi ni ile avocado ile.
Ile
avocado ile.
Ya
Sasa
kweli.
wajua mbegu yake iko ndani. Inside and covered.
Ndio nini?
Sasa ndio sasa yako ndani kama mbegu ya parachichi.
Okay. I get it.
Yeah, na avocado same.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Benson, good morning. Abraham, we see you. Good morning, people. Welcome back. A bad day after losing our men's conference chairman, Mzee Kibore. Rest in peace, Mzee.
Yeah.
Bamburi Kondani, that's where Paulo Mariba is this morning. And Muhaya is listening with Daniel. Odero is watching, literally sitting on the fence. The Great Wall of Kino. Shuja says, good morning from Kolanya, Akites Teso. Wow. And Chris is tuning from Gong this morning. Karibuni Sana, thanks for joining us.
Everybody, welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Proverb of the day, brought to you by Communications Authority of Kenya.
Yes.
Where are we today?
We are still in Sudan.
Okay.
In the Sudan. Okay. Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing.
Whose ant?
I have many questions.
This is not. This isn't Shangazi. Sio Shangazi. No.
Ile nini?
Ant.
Ant ile.
Yes.
Yule mdudu yule.
Yes.
Siafu.
Yes.
Yes.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear
an ant singing, and it's not someone's auntie.
I'm too short of hearing this morning.
I can't. It can't be me.
Okay.
Proverb of the day, brought to you by Communications Authority of Kenya. Teach your kids about online threats and how to stay safe online by reporting incidences of internet misuse to ke-cirt.go.ke or call 0703 042 700. Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako.
New super headlines now. www.standardmedia.co.ke. Or you want to have the app on your mobile device, right? So just go to Google Play Store, Apple App Store. Search for Standard e-paper. Download it. And with the app, it's like you're browsing the paper. Physically, you actually turn the pages on the app like this.
And it does that thing.
And it just... Yeah. Yeah. What are you looking at, Ndu?
I am looking at the story. Do you remember the story of the businessman who was killed in Malindi? And the case now is in court. A stepbrother to the late businessman killed in Malindi said he was on his way to receive 23 million shillings when he was lured to his death, right? Mr. Abdirahman Jirao told Justice Anne Onjingo that Mr. Kasim Jirao, aka Sokoro, whose body was found in Arabuko Sokoke Forest in September 2017, had won a tender to supply X-ray foils and air conditioners to Kilifi County hospitals. Mr. Kasim had also supplied drugs to Mombasa County. Mr. Jirao said he had lent Mr. Kasim 23 million shillings to secure the Kilifi tenders. My stepbrother called me and informed me that he was on his way to Kilifi County to get 23 million for the X-ray foils and air conditioners installation in the hospital in Kilifi. Mr. Kasim had worked at the Mandera county government before he was retrenched and was looking for a job with the Kilifi County administration. During cross-examination by lawyer Jared Magolo yesterday, Jirao said he was not aware if Kasim was going to meet MCAs. Ngira Karisa Charo, Mandi Jilani and Makonde Rua have been charged with Mr. Kasim's murder. Jilani had been cited as the mastermind who hired Charo and Rua to kill Kasim over the tender money. The court heard that Jilani allegedly asked for 9 million shillings from Mr. Kasim to help him with a tender. However, Kasim is said to have demanded back the money after Jilani failed to get the contract, according to the prosecution. Charo had said that the Mandi planned to get rid of Kasim. Do you remember? So, money is coming from county. This is a tender.
So he's won a tender.
Won a tender.
Okay.
And it is said that these fellows who were supposedly in business with him killed him because they wanted to get this 23 million that he was going to get from the county.
Had he been paid yet?
Yes.
He had already received the payment?
Yes, he had been paid. See how things go, all right? Remember yesterday when we were having this conversation about 460 million shillings, and suddenly somebody is being called by the EACC asking questions. Somebody leaked. Things can even get worse. Should those who are supposedly in the same association with you demand their money and you don't pay, you can even get to the point whereby they take your life. This one that we saw yesterday, what did they do? They just, somebody probably just leaked something to the EACC and phone calls were made and emails sent. But in this case, unfortunately, somebody's life was taken. Senior State Prosecutor Vivian Kambaga said Rua presented before the court fake hospital documents claiming he was suffering from food poisoning, so he could not appear in court yesterday. Because now, Pwani Medical Center denied treating him and and also recommending a 5-day rest. So there has been a warrant of arrest that has been issued against him. 2019, before the trial began, Charo confessed to participating in the murder and indicated that he strangled the deceased to death. Charo alleged that Jilani hired him. However, after being convicted to 8 years in prison, he recanted his confession and claimed he was forced to confess by the police. He further alleged that he agreed to make a false confession on a promise that he would either be freed or given a light sentence. He lied, according to him, because CID officers from Nairobi threatened him. They drove several times from Malindi to Mombasa with him and feared that something would happen to him along the journey. That's why he agreed to their demands.
What?
Yep. The case continues.
It's a tough one. Before we take a break, let me tell you about this one. So, Jacob Juma, remember? Businessman Jacob Juma?
The late, yes.
The late, slain on Ngong Road in 2016. Now, no, he was he died in 2016.
Yes.
So between 2001 and 2006, he had gone to a bank, the National Bank of Kenya, and taken some loans. National Bank had said, "Oh, it's okay, we can advance you money, just bring the guarantors." So he had gotten several of his friends to be his guarantors. And the guarantors were Sirisia MP John Waluke,
Okay.
a lady called Agneta Simuli. Then also we have Grace Wakungu. Same. Grace Wakungu. Okay? So they had guaranteed. So Wakungu had provided a title deed for her land in Machakos as collateral to secure 7 million shillings loan and an individual guarantee of 3 million shillings. Waluke and Miss Simuli had also given personal guarantees of 3 million shillings each. Now, man is dead. A bank goes to court and says this money was borrowed by Juma Construction Company Limited. That was the one that was receiving the money. And the guarantors to this loan were these individuals. Grace Waluke, John Waluke, Grace Wahungu, and Agneta Simuli. Case has been going on in court. In the meantime, Miss Wahungu had paid her share of the loan, amounting to 2 million shillings. Okay? Now the court has said, you, Mr. John Waluke, and you, Miss Agneta Simuli, and you, Kambani, called Juma Construction Kambani, pay back this loan. Juma Construction Kambani, pay 6.2 million shillings. Mr. Waluke, pay 3 million shillings. Miss Simuli, pay 3 million shillings. Hii kesi tumalize.
Leseni pesa tufunge hiki chapter.
Yes. Wow. That's where we are. Guaranteeing.
So now you guarantee and then something happens.
Personal
Find
guarantors.
yourself.
That's it. 28 minutes to 7. Kenya's biggest conversation takes a quick break. Let's take a look at the traffic this Thursday morning, see how it's looking, and then we look at more newspaper headlines.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Have you seen them? Am I lying?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Evan Nosingishi was asking me what channel is Spice FM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
you.
you.
What a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
Not so bad right now. We're looking at a little bit of action on Mombasa Road, going out towards North Airport Road. Outer Ring for the first time in a long time. Getting a bit of action just past the new railway. We're also looking at Jogo Road a little bit here and there, especially around the station. But not too bad coming off Langata Road. That's just building up, going towards Uhuru Highway and then out into the city through to Westlands. The Thika Superhighway is moving not too badly. We're just going to see hold up around Utali and then out towards the underpass at Pangani. Coming off Kiambu Road, not too painful right now. And that Limuru Road looks pretty good. So it looks like traffic hour might start a bit later. If you've not left, now might be a good time to do so because you might get stuck later. Hopefully, we will not have that crazy traffic. Oh, wait a minute. If you're coming off Mombasa Road and you've passed the weighbridge at Sabaki and then you're going towards, that whole general direction, you might be very surprised because the road has been closed. Yes, I know. No warning. And that is going to cause heavy traffic as it did last night. And with folks getting out to work this morning, you might want to brace yourselves and think about using the ICD route and using the Southern Bypass thereafter. Yes. And then let's talk. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
City? What are you reading?
I am reading a very interesting article.
Okay.
In the Business Daily on page 4. Remember this discussion we had about accreditation? And we said,
for schools, universities,
and
courses.
University and courses.
Right.
Professional courses, etc., etc.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now, this is what has transpired since. The debate is now continuing. It's several notches higher.
So on gear 5.
This thing is heading to 6.
Okay.
Headline: University regulator joins degree course accreditation battle.
Okay. Din, 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 din.
Exactly. Okay. Now, the regulator for universities will take action. I'm reading here. This is not me speaking ad lib. Okay? I'm reading. Okay? Against professional bodies pushing to approve academic courses, escalating the tussle over accreditation of degrees and diploma courses. Full stop. I read on. Commission for University Education, CUE chairperson, Professor Chacha Nyaigoti Chacha, termed criminal the move by the professional bodies to ignore a court ruling that declared the CUE as the only body mandated to regulate standards and accredit courses. Full stop.
What? Continue into the third paragraph. It's
We
a quote.
are not asleep.
The third paragraph is always a quote.
We are not asleep. We will take action against bodies that usurp our mandate because their actions are criminal, said Professor Nyaigoti Chacha.
Upon waking up.
Yes. And upon being in that same state of awakeness, he said, we are not operating a clandestine system, and the law is very clear on persons or institutions that are in breach.
So this matter has been there before. It's gone to court of appeal, no less.
Yep.
Court of appeal has said the regulator, the Commission for University Education, is in charge.
Yes.
It licenses, it accredits universities, it gives them a charter, it also approves the courses that they offer.
Yes.
So now you, Kenya Engineers Board of Kenya and all, you have no role to play here.
They don't even have, they're not, it's not their job or mandate or capacity to decide what they recognize and what they don't recognize. That's not their job.
It's not you.
It's not their job. This article further states that this reaction that I have just read was attributed to the Board of Engineering Chief Executive Margaret Ogai, okay? When they said that some of these courses, you know the story, some of these courses, they're a bit iffy. We told, you cannot iffy the courses. We are the ones who iffy the courses. It's not you.
Don't iffy on our behalf.
Yes.
Sheesh.
This one is going to be interesting. We should have them here
I
joining
think
us.
we should.
We should have them. Professor Chacha Nyaigoti Chacha and the Engineers Board.
Yes. Let them come and tell us.
What's the iffy about
Yes.
this?
Yes.
And while on that also, the Council for Legal Education should also come.
Yes.
All these ones, let them come and tell us.
What's going on?
Yeah. So who does the ones for teaching? Do we hear the Teachers
what
Service Commission talking about?
Teacher Service Commission, ayo. You see, the thing is, there are individuals and there are institutions and there are laws that govern these institutions. And the people who are at the helm, I would argue, are best placed to come and explain some of these wheretofores that we are. Yes, deliberating over.
Because the next one, or ISPAC will now start talking about these courses that you offer.
Yes.
What? Hey.
Speaking about schooling,
Uh-huh.
see, Magoha said that we had sealed all the holes for cheating. And they were saying now the problem is not even at the classroom level. It has become more intricate at the commission level. That is what the problem we're seeing.
Yes.
Well, not so much. Because he has now cited mobile phones as leading cheating tool in KCSE. Mobile phones are proving to be a headache in the management of national examinations. Education CS George Magoha said the government was considering a total ban on the use of mobile phones in schools during exams. The greatest singular enemy we have today are the cell phones. The CS dismissed reports that mobile phones confiscated in exam rooms contained exam answers. There is no way there could be an answer on these mobile phones. A few teachers are accessing exams early before exam time, but the test was not leaked. The CS was responding to reports that 3 counties are on the spot after 3 teachers and a student were caught with photos of KCSE exam papers. He said Nairobi, Kisii and Garissa are on the ministry's radar. Professor Magoha cited Sir Newton High School in Eastleigh, Nairobi, where a teacher was found taking photos of the test papers. The matter is being investigated, the CS said, after commissioning a CBC classroom in Precious Blood Girls High School, Riruta. CS Magoha said a KCSE candidate from Eastleigh High School was caught with a mobile phone in the exam room with screenshots of questions sent by someone from Daraji Mbili in Kisii.
Daraja Mbili?
In Kisii. This school is where?
Dagoretti. Is it?
Eastleigh.
Oh, it's in Eastleigh.
Eastleigh High School.
Eastleigh.
Eastleigh High School. not the Great Corner. Elsewhere, a principal, supervisor and 4 invigilators were arrested after 4 mobile phones with exam materials were found in the toilet, no less.
But you know what is peculiar about this? Why then don't you set exams differently? Because when you are in the university, you are allowed to carry your textbooks to the exam.
In fact, they urge you.
Yes.
Carry it and...
My friend, it doesn't help. That thing will confuse you even more. You're told, books.
Take.
It's okay.
But bring even 2 backpacks full of books. Not a problem. Yes. And go through them. But this exam is 1 hour.
Yes.
And there are 3 questions. But read away. Why is it that these exams, the manner in which they are set, it makes it possible for someone to have an answer to it, to have a this to it. Why don't you make the process of answering these questions a little more complex so that it doesn't matter how many things you photocopy?
Make it about application, for
Yes,
example.
exactly. So how exactly? You can photocopy all you like. You can carry as many phones as you like. It's not going to help you.
I guess CBC will move into that direction.
Indeed.
Because the CBC exams that the kids have been doing are a bit different.
Yes, they are more stimulus response. As in, okay, this is a situation here, so tell us, wewe. In your opinion, kwa maoni yako, what do you think? Or how do you read this and how do you understand this?
Yes.
But if it's 1 plus 1,
that one you can photocopy.
It's just right there. 2.
Got it.
The one that just got me is where a young man was impersonating his father and going to sit an exam on behalf of his father.
Wait, again? No, I find that puzzling. Explain. I mean,
father has registered to sit KCSE.
Right.
Okay. Father sends son. My son. Wewe ni damu yangu.
You've been known to pass exams.
I've sacrificed everything for you.
Wewe ni damu yangu.
Oh, it makes sense, though.
Yes.
Go sit the exam.
It makes sense. It makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
Go sit that exam. Na ukuje hapa na results mzuri.
Zangu.
Instructions. Go bring my results.
So let's talk about scrap metal. Scrap metal dealers. Remember, President says scrap metal, out. Burn it until we have scrap metal. Until we have organized this business. Now, the government still says, you see the way we are dealing with boda bodas and the way we dealt with matatus. These scrap metal people, same route. Organize yourselves. The government will not lift the ban on scrap metal until they are licensed afresh under new regulatory framework before the state considers lifting them. A meeting between the heads of various government agencies and representatives of scrap metal dealers yesterday failed to unlock a moratorium placed in January by President Uhuru Kenyatta. The government has instead slapped the dealers with a tough set of regulations which it insists must be adhered to before a recommendation is made to the president on whether or not to lift the ban. All dealers must seek fresh licenses and register with a business organization that will operate on a model similar to Matatu Sacco. This will in the end create self-regulation. Licensed dealers, millers and smelters will pay 250,000 shillings in annual fees. Agents will pay 150,000 shillings. Juakali collectors will pay 50,000 shillings. This is on top of the existing county licenses that they must secure. Dealers will be required to prominently display the name and license number outside their facilities and keep receipts of all scrap metal purchases or sales. The receipts shall include registration details of the vehicles and drivers who deliver or off-take scrap metal from the business. The dealers will have to carry with them a copy of their licenses while moving scrap metal and obtain a letter authorizing the transportation of the cargo. Tough. Number 2, former SACCO. A big SACCO. That is regulation number 1.
3, 4.
3, 4. Right? Once you're in that SACCO, then if you are a dealer, a miller, or a smelter, you pay annual license 250. If you are an agent, you pay 150 Gs. If you are the Juakali collector, you pay 50K. Okay? Now, you are a dealer, you're a smelter, you're an agent. When the scrap metal is coming into your premises, you shall keep receipts. What is leaving, what is coming, keep receipts. Keep a register there, shows we got this consignment from X place, delivered by car registration number, this, and the other. Okay? So we can track. What I'm feeling for is the scrap metal people. Because I'm not hearing their voice.
In terms of consultation.
Yes. Yeah. Even in terms of them coming out, even in this particular story, it is quoting CS Betty Maina, who was grilled in Parliament. It's talking about everybody else. The scrap metal people should have come out here and spoken out and said, all right, so this is actually what we are doing ourselves. These are the steps that we are taking. Because truth be told, this industry had gone rogue. You've just talked about North Airport Road. This section from City Cabanas going to join Outer Ring Road. You know, a couple of months back, even on the bridge, City Cabanas overpass, there were metal grills. You know those things that are put so that you dissuade people from crossing the road.
Yeah.
I drove past there the other day. Gone. All of them gone. On top of the City Cabanas overpass, the contractor of the road had put that middle rod. There's a key rod that is yes on the concrete embankment.
Yes.
Then there's a rod. That rod gone. Why do you think it has gone? Scrap metal.
It has been smelted.
Yes. That industry has basically very, very many rogue elements. There are very many people who are doing clean business in there.
It's true.
But there are others who are rogue. Those that are doing clean business are the ones who are suffering today, and they should be speaking out and saying what they ought to do to rein in the bad apples.
Indeed. Because, I mean, look, even this expressway that we're talking about, all the metal, just last Sunday, the metal on the sides of the roads, again, that are stopping people from crossing over into the expressway, for example. Unfortunately, some, unfortunate chap had an accident and knocked part of that iron shield or whatever, probably on the night of Saturday. By where there was the dent, by morning,
it's gone.
About 4 meters of that
the mesh is gone.
Mesh is gone.
And it's not the contractor.
So you can imagine what's going to happen when they will be done. Because all this conversation that we're having right now, do you think it's going to dissuade the rogue elements from doing what they have been doing all these years?
Yeah, these people need to come out and say, in fact, take the lead. Say there's a SACCO, we have already registered an association, blah, blah, blah. This is a SACCO and our members already, we have joined the SACCO. We are encouraging our members. This is how it's going to work countrywide. This is the structure that we're proposing countrywide. As long as they're not speaking. Maybe they are with the government, but come out also.
Not loud enough.
And talk to the public.
Not loud enough.
Anyway, another story.
Okay, so coffee. And it's a good one, I think. Coffee farmers are reaping big from the first direct export to South Korea. Kip Kellyon Cooperative, we'll see here as an idea of folks coming together and actually doing something right. Sells a kilo at 116 shillings to a South Korea-based company going without going through brokers. Price would have averaged 76 at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, where most of Kenya's output passes. Coffee farmers have struck gold, is what Dominic Omondi says, and the first direct import of the commodity, setting the stage for unprecedented earnings for smallholders. A kilogram of the coffee cherry that was sold directly to a buyer in South Korea fetched 116 shillings, compared to an average of 76 shillings that farmers would have received at the Nairobi coffee auction, which marks a break from the current system that is a stranglehold of middlemen. The groundbreaking sale was made by Kipkelion District Cooperative Union, an umbrella of 64 primary coffee cooperatives, which early last month flagged off 134.4 tons of coffee beans to the South Korean-based company My Good Beans. The consignment will earn the farmers about 15.6 million shillings. This is a historic achievement of small-scale coffee farmers across the country, as it is a clear demonstration that given an opportunity and with support, farmers have the potential to rise to the occasion and produce, meet export requirements, negotiate and export our coffee across the entire globe. And this is according to Samuel Marindani, who's the chairman of the company owned by the union. He was speaking at the cooperative members at their mill at Fort Tenon in Kericho County. The money will be wired by Good Beans to the Cooperative Bank of Kenya for distribution by farmers. South Korea is the fourth largest buyer of Kenyan coffee after Belgium, Germany, and the United States. First time this has ever been done. It would be nice to see this replicated across the markets.
Yes. City?
A question that, of course, comes to my mind is that when you talk about value addition, the benefits are clear for all to see. But why is it that the authorities that deal with coffee production, tea production in this country, why have we dithered over this when the benefits are as clear as daylight?
Right.
Because it's a direct benefit to the government, it's a direct benefit to the farmer, but I suspect it isn't a direct benefit to certain middlemen and women.
Of course not. Because it takes away then from it takes away from what you would get as a total. Because I hear what you're saying. We look at these companies, for example, that import coffee from Kenya, are really the same ones then who are going to send you back the same coffee, latte, espresso, creamed coffee. It's on the shelves in Nairobi, in Kisumu, in Mombasa. And if you did your traceability analysis, you would find that coffee originated here. So value-added service, or rather value add, is a huge thing that really ought to be looked at.
You see what
because you're being sold the end product yet again, and the raw material is your own.
Look at the evolution of, say, tea trading. For the longest time, London was where tea was traded, the biggest tea trading center in the world. Not one leaf, not one bush of tea grows in the UK. Not one. Okay? Countries in Europe, we're talking Germany, you're talking Switzerland. These people have been some of the biggest exporters of tea products. Again, not a leaf, not a bush grows in the country. Now, the evolution of tea trade got to the point where Sri Lanka and Mombasa, to be precise, became now the big centers for tea trading. Makes sense. Kenya produces tea. Sri Lanka produces tea. Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What am I saying? I am saying that some of these things have a historical significance that has outlived itself by date. But yet, because some people benefit immensely from this, they stick by it. And because the farmers seem to think and feel that they're making money, it doesn't occur to them they could make more. Much, much more. See, nothing is stopping the countries that are doing value addition from doing value addition, but nothing should stop us from also entering that market as well.
Indeed. There's nothing if you think about it, in principle, there's actually nothing that stops any country from getting in on this thing, except now the internal wranglings that you would find.
Except ourselves.
That's it.
That's really
it.
There's something I've been reading here, Eric. It's something that is, in my mind, the subject of a lot of discussion, but let me just touch the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
This is a headline of the Star. IEBC wants manual results given priority.
Okay.
This is what IEBC is saying. They want physically delivered results to take precedence over electronic transmission when differences occur. Okay? Meaning, And the reference specifically is with presidential elections.
Right.
All right? So now, what they're saying makes sense. At one level, it makes perfect sense. There can be a hiccup, electronic transmission can hang, but yet we have the physical results.
Yeah.
The understanding was that one ought to mirror the other.
Yes.
So now, when a difference occurs, then you use the
mother.
Yes.
Because the mother is the physical.
The mother is the physical.
Yeah.
Up to that point, I really have no issue. But the problem is, for the physical to be used and to be verified, it needs to be transported.
Yes.
In the transportation of results, historically, we haven't had a very good go of it at times. Because somehow those boxes that carry these results or whatever it is have a tendency of wandering off or not appearing. The person who's supposed to transport it suddenly goes dark, suddenly can't be found. That's why I said it's a debate, and it's something that I would like us to continue discussing in the coming future, because it's not the only proposals for the change that IEBC has.
Indeed.
I think it's an important one. Let's talk about let's look at the process, okay? Counting is happening publicly.
Everybody can see.
Right? Everybody can see. So we've got a presiding officer, and we've got the party agents, and we've got security personnel, and we've got election observers, and we've got the media. Everybody is in this room. Results are announced. Agents sign. The presiding officer leaves with this, goes to the returning officer at the constituency level or at the county level.
Yes.
The returning officer receives, collates, announces, agents sign. If all these things, if this person let's provide transport for all of them. Everybody who was in that room. So the returning officer plus the party agents plus 1 or 2 election observers shall get into this bus and provide it with security. Bring them to Bomas.
If we hadn't had such a hoo-ha and a cake fuss with Form 34A and Form 34B, I was introduced to anomalies that I didn't know existed. Yes, I didn't know, but they occurred. So it provided an opportunity for learning and understanding things about electoral process. I actually think the IEBC mean well. They are not suggesting something nefarious. They're trying to find a way of ensuring that when there's a bit of a hitch, you have a way out.
Yes.
Because in the absence of that clarity, then you're going to have a problem.
Actually, one of the other conversations that we need to have alongside this one is understanding a ruling. It's called the Minor Kiai ruling.
Yes.
The Minor Kiai ruling, court said, the Constitution says elections happen at the constituency level across all the 290 constituencies.
Yes.
So, the Minor Kiai ruling basically, in effect, was saying that what the returning officer at the constituency level has declared as the result, that's it.
That's it.
So don't even go at it Form
34A.
You know, 34A is at the polling center, and then 34B is at constituency, and the 34C and then D at presidential.
Forget it.
That one at the constituency, that's it. So what does that mean? Because then at the same time it says, in the case of the presidential election, the returning officer is the chairperson of the IEBC.
I think one Mr. Minor Kiai should be asked to come and explain some of these things to us.
Yes.
And maybe an IEBC official should also be here to shed more light on this matter.
On this particular one.
I'd rather we start talking about this thing early.
To understand.
Much earlier. This is not something you want to discuss in July.
Yeah.
No. You want to discuss it now so that come April, May, June, we have a clear understanding of what this thing is all about.
Yes, let's go to the top of the hour and get the news. Remember, there's Cipladon.
There is.
It's this fast-acting pain relief effervescent tablet. Take it, dunk it in water, dunk it in water, and then what happens?
Do it just now.
Just now?
Yeah.
Before we come back?
Yes.
Unaumwa na kichwa na mgongo na meno na masikio na shingo.
Let's see.
Slept like a baby, woke up with a stiff neck.
Telling you, these problems.
Good morning to you. This is SpiceFM at 7 a.m.
spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. President Uhuru Kenyatta has reiterated his commitment to ensuring the completion of government projects and leaving a united country before his time comes to an end in August. Speaking at Kenyatta Market in Nairobi, President Kenyatta told of critiques from Deputy President William Ruto's camp over his continued attacks on the government. He pointed out that their mockery on his pact with ODM leader Raila Odinga in the famous 2018 handshake would not hinder him from accomplishing his projects and keeping the country united. DP Ruto's camp has been chastising the government over stalled projects, claiming the handshake derailed the government from accomplishing the Big Four agenda. Now, Jubilee MPs now say it is time Deputy President William Ruto considered quitting the government after joining and embracing a different party while still serving in his official position. In a statement issued by Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni, the MP said Ruto's remarks in London and the US during last week's visit confirmed he is not part of the government.
He took an oath to abide by the provisions of the Constitution. If he is so unhappy with the things that are happening in the government, he should resign. And that is provided for in the Constitution.
They said it is absurd for Ruto to have spent 107 million shillings from public coffers on the trip just to go and attack the same government he serves. In both trips, Ruto repeatedly said that he took a back seat after President Uhuru Kenyatta informed him that he needed space to work on his legacy. Now, ODM leader Raila Odinga has pledged to address concerns surrounding Kenya's current debt portfolio, which he says is negatively affecting economic growth should he emerge victorious at the August polls. Odinga, who was speaking at Chatham House in London, said Kenya's ballooning debt has aggravated poverty and stalled local economic development. As such, the issue should be addressed quickly to prevent the country from falling into a fiscal abyss. Such austerity programs, Odinga added, are more often than not implemented with the sole interest of satisfying debt repayment at the expense of the livelihoods of Kenyans. Odinga partly attributed the country's debt to corruption, pointing out that his government will strive to ensure that Kenya does not default on debt payment.
Any fight against corruption is politicized. If anybody is investigated by investigative authorities and is arrested or being charged, there's always the cry that, oh, so-and-so is being targeted because he's my supporter, and so he's being because he's my supporter. So they cannot really fight against this corruption internally because of internal contradictions within the Jubilee government itself. We'll have to seek the indulgence and cooperation of our development partners to negotiate our debt. I will also audit our debt to establish its actual size.
Now, Jackson Kiprotich Kibore, a businessman and a politician from Eldoret, Gishu County, is dead. According to the family, Kibore succumbed to a long illness Wednesday at St. Luke's Hospital in Eldoret. He was in his late 80s. Kibore had been using medical oxygen since October 2020 after he contracted COVID-19. He was recently admitted at St. Luke's Hospital where doctors confirmed his 2 kidneys had failed. The prominent farmer was admitted to the intensive care unit for some time before doctors confirmed his death yesterday. Kibore was nicknamed the chairman of the men's conference. Kibore had over 20 children. Our thoughts and condolences to the family. And former Safari Rally driver Vic Preston Jr. is dead. The rally icon took his last breath Tuesday night in Seychelles after what his family reported to be pneumonia-related problems. Vic Preston Jr. was a very known figure in the rally circles here in Kenya as he first entered the iconic East African Safari Rally in 1966, aged just 16, in a Ford Cortina GT navigated by Garish Robert. Born from a motorsport enthusiastic family, Vic Jr. would go on to compete in several motorsport activities including motorbike racing, following in his father Vic Preston Sr.'s footsteps in becoming a champion. He raced 21 times in the World Rally Championship category, securing podium places twice, his last being in the Marlborough Safari Rally in 1980 and 9 retirements overall. His best finish in the WRC was in the 1978 Safari Rally when he finished second overall and first in Kenya. He won a total of 16 rallies here in Kenya, securing the podium places 25 times during his memorable career. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM.
All right, building up Ombaso this morning. That little part where we saw was open yesterday morning is closed this morning, and we see that it's going to cause a bit of drama. We've been able to get out. That's good. Don't forget, you can use the southern bypass to go the longer route into the city. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. We're looking at Lunga Lunga and that entire industrial area circuit looking like it's going to be closed off in a short while because of the traffic and nothing else. Jogo Road then going out towards the roundabout at City Stadium, also piling up quite quickly this morning. All right, all roads lead into the CBD. It's clogging up on Gong Road. Langata Road not looking too bad right now. We're likely to see more action there in a few minutes. The Thika Superhighway, a lot of traffic there, and we've seen Kiambu Road has piled up quite some. I'm not sure how many lanes there are now, but it's doing the business. We're also seeing Limuru Road has built up coming out of Westlands. Chirwell's not looking too bad right now. Ring Road, Westlands also building up for now. Getting into traffic hour in about half an hour or so, and that's where things will probably get just a little bit crazy. So take advantage now while you can and be safe and arrive alive. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power. And Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
It is 7 minutes after 7, the 17th day of March 2022, getting closer and closer to the end of March, waiting for power bills to come down. We saw the G-Wagon on the streets of Nairobi yesterday, waiting for the G-Wagon to do the round from Makutano, Machakos Junction all the way to Maimahiu Junction. Mm-hmm. Kama ilienda Kenyatta Market kukula nyama jana.
Mm-hmm. End of March, City. End of March.
End of March.
You know, far be it from me to dampen the spirits of those who have faith, even if their faith is based on nothing. So, please, believe what you will. This expressway will not be complete at the end of this month.
There's still
13 days, 14
days.
Why don't I spice the conversation further and tell you this expressway will not be complete in June?
You know, when the president went to Kenyatta Market yesterday, he said, si choo unaona tumeimprove, na ile kazi ambayo tulianza, hiyo serikali ingine itakuja itamalizia. Setting the stage, my friend. You wait.
You'll be shocked. The end of March.
Set the stage. Si unaona tumeweka baria. Si unaona barabara iko juu ya hewa.
Tumeweka maua.
Hiyo tumeweka maua. Hii serikali ingine itakuja kumalizia.
Cows come grazing.
They have already started.
Cows are already grazing.
Salad.
You're joking. Cows are already grazing.
Vegetable flower salad.
Okay. My friend.
Died,
my friend. This is already happening. We have a guest in the studio, but let's first hear the day's proverb. Sudan.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing. Ant here is Siafu, not someone's relative. Okay, see auntie. Ain't.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear
an ant singing. Yeah. Let me repeat. See auntie, ant, Siafu.
Aunt ni aunt.
She Aunt Margaret. Sawa. That's a good one.
Proverb of the Day, brought to you by Communications Authority of Kenya. Teach your kids about online threats and how to stay safe online by reporting incidences of internet misuse to ke-cirt.go.ke or call 0703 042 700.
We have a guest in the studio. His name is Edwin Adoga Otichilo. Edwin is a country program manager for Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, and he'll tell us what this is. We'll talk about elections, democracy in the country. We are preparing for August, elections coming up. Soon, political parties will start holding their party primaries. Soon, the IEBC will have the elections voter register audited, and then they'll open it up for us to check whether we are doing well, and then we shall go and elect new leaders, and then our new leaders shall come and do what we expect them to do, which is deliver services and move the country forward. And if they don't do that, we'll complain. That's part of democracy. We'll be discussing democracy in this hour. Edwin, thank you very much for joining us.
Sure. Thanks very much. I hope I'm audible enough.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to be here, and it's also, a good day. For the first time, I think, in a couple of weeks, I've woken up purposely, telling my heart that I'm going for an interview, and not just an interview, but also a discussion. That is quite, a departure from what I do. In the mornings, I usually take my run, but this time around I had to skip the runs. But all for a good, reason. And so I'm happy to be here.
We are honored to have you.
Sure.
Welcome to the hot seat.
Thanks.
By the time you're done, same number of calories.
You may not need the run, friend.
Same number of calories will be done. So, tell us about this organization that you represent.
Yes, thanks. So, Konrad Adenauer Foundation is at times you get to hear people saying Stiftung. Basically, it's just a German word for foundation. It is a political foundation that is based in Germany, but we've been in Kenya since the 1970s. So we've followed, the process of how Kenya has tremendously grown politically, socially, and also economically. Taking into account the challenges that the country is facing right now. So we've been part and parcel of this. As a foundation, having been established in Germany, very interestingly, because we had started this discussion even prior to the official, this conversation, is that in Germany, every party that gets a certain percentage in what they call the Bundestag, which is more or less like our National Assembly, is obliged by law to form a foundation. And so you realize that there are quite a number of foundations, and I could name 4 of them here. Konrad, of course, being one of them. You have the Hans Heidel Foundation, you have Heinrich Paul Foundation, Friedrich Schubert Foundation. All these foundations are formed from, the initial establishment and the zeal and the outcomes of polls by the various political parties. So for as long as these political parties are in existence and they have numbers, these foundations would always be there because they draw, public resources, what we call BMZ, for people who are in the development world, money from the taxpayers in Germany to come and, of course, promote democracy across globe. So Kenya is one of the countries where we've had very interesting relationship. Konrad was very formidable in 2002, supporting, a few of the process and procedures of, reforms and politicians who wanted to do things differently, and just providing them with that space, where they would discuss issues and would be able to network and connect with others.
Let's step back.
Yes.
So it's a legal requirement, you say, for every political party that gets a certain number of elected members into the Bundestag to form a foundation.
Yes.
So how many political parties are we talking about? Like now, on average, how many parties, like currently, are represented in the assembly?
Right now, you'd realize that in their Bundestag, in their assembly, there would be, I would give a rough estimate of, I think 7 to around 10 right now.
Okay.
Why? It's because there have been new developments. If you've watched the German politics, new development in the sense that you understand that there was a point in time where issues to do with climate change, issues to do with immigration, issues to do with nationalism, these issues were quite off center to them, and there are quite a number of parties, not newly formed, but they used to exist, but they were not stable enough, to get to draw money from the taxpayers. But this time you could see that they're becoming more, popular because of the issues that needs to be sorted out. And so they've been seeing quite a number of representatives, getting into
They've been winning more seats.
And I think that is, and I think that is also one of the cases as to why CDU, at one point they were in government. And late last year, you remember, SDP came to government and was able to bring a coalition, what they call the post-election coalition. That is a very common phenomenon in Germany, and some of the things that we try to learn, and also we try to kind of share with the rest of the political parties and actors in terms of what happens in Germany and what happens here, and what we could really borrow from each country. So that's basically it. So you tend to see, of course, it's up to the political foundations to decide where they want to work.
Okay.
So
that is not regulated.
It is not regulated.
You form a foundation.
But
you shall
within their
get some
country,
funding
yes.
from the taxpayer.
Yes.
And what's the expectation of what's the foundation's job?
So our main responsibility is to strengthen democracy, or the tenets of democracy, because Germany is one of the best examples of what democracy can do to our society. And so I think they try to extrapolate this. They try to kind of extend this and share the values of democracy, and provide lessons that they've learned with countries that they think are also important to them. And Kenya is one of the countries. So our core responsibility now, coming to the Kenyan program, is of course overarching objective is to promote democracy, but here we work with quite a number of people just to do that. And being a political foundation, political parties are very important to us. We work, of course, with the civil society on the other side, because we believe that if you are to do checks and balances, or if you are to do civilian oversight, then at least you need the civil society to kind of do that. So those two are very important to us, but of course we also work with other think tanks, and by the MIQ also counted as a think tank. So we try to support a few of us who we could work together, develop different studies and research alternatives, and just share them out. So that's what we do.
Before we delve into that, Germany also has representative bodies at the federal, or rather at the regional levels. Do they also have foundations?
No. So
it's only at the national level where you have what they call it, is the Bundestag.
The Bundestag.
And the Bundesrat, which is now the lower, they don't have it.
No, they don't have it because the foundations are pegged on the political parties, the same political parties that would operate at the national level.
Represented. So this isn't one of those countries where you have the regional entities don't have political parties that you only find in certain regions. All political parties in Germany are, in essence, national.
Yes, all of them are national. But one very interesting thing that you've mentioned is, and maybe I would give you this so that we could compare notes, is in the CDU, when you see the CDU logo, you'd see the CDU/CSU. So CSU is more affiliated to the Hans Seidel Foundation, and it is a very strong party, but very strong in one certain region.
Yes.
But then we've been together I think they've been together for quite some time. They vote together. It's more or less like one. Actually, it's hard for you to kind of differentiate these two political parties because they're just one. And I think that compensates to their political reality there, that there are certain things that have to be fixed in a certain way, and it has been their life, their political life to do so.
I like what you said and what you brought in. Now, they are strong in understanding and growing the political understanding of their democracy within Germany. Now, when they leave Germany and come to other countries in the world where they now want to help promote democracy, the fulcrum on which they base this relationship It has to do with, is it to develop democracy as envisioned by the countries that they're working within and with? Or is it to bring to bear what they've understood to work for them in Germany and try to see how that can blend in with what the countries or the institutions they're working with actually are? What do they do? I mean, what do you do?
Yes. And I think that's why I'm here, and you cannot see a white person here, because it's very important for actually, first and foremost, the perception to be right, because that has always been the biggest nightmare, not only within the foundation, but just largely in the non-state actors, fraternity. The politics of, international the discussions around international politics, and what happens when the big brothers, in quotes, feel that there's a problem and they need to address, or feel that there is something that they could extend to the small brothers and so forth. That has always been a very delicate discussion, and how we approach it is very I would say focused, but sensitive based, in such a way that I understand the context, and that is why I have to kind of marry what works for them and what I think works for us. But the thing is that we consult quite a lot, and the idea that we try to build on is that at no particular point should the Germans come and say, we are bringing you these kinds of solutions. What they come in to say is that we are coming to work with you to identify solutions that work for you. But as you do that, there is something that we can at least tell you, because we've come at least from where you guys are. But at the same time, there is always something that we can learn, because we tend to also go back. And you could see the current development across the globe is that, at no particular point could you think nationalism could be, a very big issue where now countries start to find where and how to close their borders, and identify with their people vis-a-vis others. There was a time where we used to talk about integration, regional integrations and so forth. I would say, without any benefit of doubt, that there is so much also these foundations also learn from our politics, but of course we try to use their experiences, and also looking at Germany and where they are, a country that the budget is almost 2 times the African continent budget, it is looking at how they address corruption, looking, when you go there and you talk about corruption and you look at their ways of life, you tend to see where our problems are.
Let me ask you this simple question, okay? I'm glad you brought in that comparison. Now, Germany wasn't always one united country. There were many states and they were brought together by, Otto von Bismarck is credited with that particular unification. Now, if I look at what the government of Germany offers its citizens, the push that they've had to ensuring that every citizen, irrespective of who they are, enjoys certain benefits, or they can take for granted certain services that are provided for them by their country as a result of the taxes that they pay. Now, if I look at the seriousness with which the German government approaches such matters, would I then be in a good position to say that perhaps it is because of this that trust is then engendered between the citizenry and their government, and so that things like corruption and crime are at a very tolerable level? Meaning the need for someone to go and steal a metal rod in the middle of a road is a lot less in Germany than it is in Kenya. The need for someone to actually go and remove a barrier on a road which is made out of metal to go and sell it as scrap metal is less in Germany than it is in Kenya.
Sure. You're totally right. I mean, democracy ceases to work when people hope and they suggest and they continue suggesting, but nothing seems to happen. And so if that becomes a trend, people become hopeless. Your politics becomes more expensive, because people cannot even understand your agenda anymore. People know that after 4 years, they're going to be where they were. And I usually tend to say this. So if your politics become expensive, it's because things are not working out, and so you try to compensate on the other side. For Germany, it has been very progressive. They make suggestions, and one of the things that I want to also be very frank with you is, I've watched their politics. At no point do they discuss about poverty inwardly. They don't discuss poverty within, because they've set measures to be able to address that. Germany is a rich country. Of course, it's a parliamentary system. Of course, if you go to systems, they're a bit different. But if you look at how they campaign, and I was with one of the former mayors, and he said that he was campaigning in one of the biggest cities in Germany, and spent almost close to 2 million Kenya shillings to run his entire campaign. And when we were trying to suggest how much we use here, they couldn't add the maths, because they felt this is just too expensive for politics.
I reckon some folks over here probably will not be able to put the maths together as well. Anyway, so you said that some of the work that is done is specifically with political parties. If we're looking currently at the situation that political parties are facing in Kenya, there are some issues here and there. The registrar is asking certain people to do things in a certain way. Nominations, primaries are an absolute mess. What kind of, because then you said we're not going to come and tell you what to do. We may come and say, okay, here's a problem, suggestion of solutions. What kind of work is being done with political parties in Kenya right now to be able to streamline some of these processes?
Yes. Very, very honest question. And the thing is, it gets crazy also for us working with political parties, and knowing that political parties are not the best when it comes to discipline, and when it comes to providing certain services, and I think nomination procedures and them being able to do it right is one of the key preliminary services that political parties ought to give in preparation for elections. And what you tend to see, and this speaks to also how our political parties are formed, which is a bit different from how the CDU and the others are formed, is that they are personalized, or they are formed around certain personalities. And you tend to hear this quote in Kenya that people say political parties are owned by certain people, which I believe to a large extent is true.
Are you saying that political parties are not owned by individuals in Germany?
If you look at ours, it's outright. I mean, like, if you see how they were formed and how CDU was formed, if you...
How far back in history do you want to go into the formation of CDU, for instance?
Yes, that's the thing. I mean, like, if CDU is quite an old party, right?
It's very old.
It's quite an old party. But this is the thing. I come back to, if you look at how CDU... I can give you a very good example of Ford Kenya, right? If you look at how Ford Kenya was formed, and at one point you'd realize that if a chairperson in Ford Kenya resigned, it was easy for them to select. Forget about the regional scope and all this stuff. I'm just looking at the structure. It could be easy for someone else to ascend to power based on procedures. But if you look at KANU also had more or less the same kind of thing at one point in time. But most of the new parties that are coming in, it is based on you say that party, and clearly
it's a briefcase.
Yes, you just see. I don't have to say it loud. You just see the person. You just see the person.
You see the individual.
You see the individual just besides the party. And so if this individual decides to go and join another party, that party goes dead. So you don't see those kinds of things in other established democracies. I mean, like, so if you decide that you want to leave CDU, there are structures that allow for someone else to ascend to power and continue the business of the party. It's a struggle that we face. But coming to answer your question, nomination is one of the biggest challenge and hurdles that I could foresee a lot of political parties going through, because as we speak, there are political parties that have decided right now to go ahead and point out people that they are going to give direct, certificates to. Of course, the law provides for two ways through which you can do nominations. So one is, of course, the direct nomination and the indirect nomination. So they would use one of the the lacunas in the laws to do what they want to do. And so if they think that they can give you a direct nomination because it serves the interest of a few and they think that is okay, again, it comes back to the structures and how they're established. They do that. And if you looked at the history of court cases, you don't want to go that side because, yes, of course, they get to be resolved. But the ones that remain behind are quite voluminous still.
Mr. Otichilo, if you look at political parties in the West and their processes of democracy, political parties, many political parties in the West, the issue of democracy that we seem to have, like when we talk about our party primaries where people go into this process of competition, even before the competition begins in the West, people have already been nominated, meaning you don't just wake up and decide you are going to contest, because that's what our people here do. I want to contest, I'm a member of this party, I want to put my name forward. People are more or less selected. Democracy may exist, but it's very guided. Meaning the party can more or less decide it is you they want, you. So you go through what they call their processes, and to determine it, case in point, if you look at, say, for instance, the UK, if you look at even America, they are what these democracies call safe seats. Meaning we know that in this region we have very serious support. So if we take a candidate and place them in this, the likelihood, simply not because of them, but because of the party support, they are very likely to win. Okay. Now, our political parties have an option. If you read their constitutions, they can either go the way of letting people elect you or they can nominate you. It's not that they don't have the option. They do.
Yes.
But they choose this option of going the voting way because it gives a nice, nice optics of democracy. Whereas, in essence, when you look at the outcome, there are those who would say the outcomes were already predetermined. So everything else that took place before was a sham.
I would agree with you and disagree with you on two things. So one is, of course, maturity in their politics has taken time, and they've been in places where we are right now. If right now you would agree with me that we are fighting, we are trying to understand how to become members of a certain political parties, and if right now you are to even try and find out if you belong to a certain political party that you thought so, you'd be surprised once you enter the digits and what PP gives you, the membership. Everyone gets surprised, even in the meetings. Even some of the people that we've been having meetings with in KANU, ANC, and all these kinds of parties, they would try and look and verify whether they are parties, whether they are members of their own parties, and they would be surprised. No, I am not a member of Jubilee. How did I become this, and so forth? So you can imagine we're struggling with that now. And so the other thing is that we understand the maturity also in their politics. And of course, for you to be selected, and even it happens, that is one of the concepts of democracy and also party engagements, is for you to be selected, you cannot also be selected from nowhere. There's a contribution that you make to the party.
Over a period of time.
Yes. And they start to see your ability to deliver.
Yes.
And when the only difference
deliver
between...
and also your loyalty to the party.
Not your loyalty to certain individuals, but your loyalty to the party. You see, those are two different things. In Kenya, one is that we are much subjective, not objective. So when you select, when you say you want to use a certain criteria to nominate a few people, and give them direct certificates because you feel that they're the best in Kenya, it is not because these people, are good on ground and they have certain positions that, are quite synonymous with them. No, in Kenya times it could be because there are few people who feel, yes, of course, we just need these people to, to be the gatekeepers and so forth. And like what I said, there are regions that you can be given a direct nomination, not because you're popular. just because your party is popular. And that is maybe the differences between when you look at the likes of CDU. For CDU to be given a direct nomination, I can attest you're going to sweat for it. For CDU to be able to identify you that you're extremely important, you're truly extremely important, and everybody would agree with that fact. And that is why
you're deep state.
Yeah, and that is why and most times you don't see a lot of chaos after that. In Kenya, you see a lot of chaos, and I tell you, it's a fact. If you see a contingent, or if you see serious departure of politicians from party A to party B, which happens so many times in Kenya, almost towards nomination. Right now, every day, people are moving from one party. The other time, the senator for Kisii, I saw he went to DAP, I think yesterday, and he was in ODM. You tend to see why. It's because one of the things, if you ask them, they will tell you it's because we feel this thing is going to be unfair.
The nomination will go to somebody else.
So
not unfair. It will not favor you.
Yes, but for them they would say that, right? But if you go to other countries that have these very matured democracies and internal party democracies, you tend to see as much as someone is given the certificate, you don't see the walkouts. Rarely do you see the walkouts, and it tells you something about these parties.
People, they respect the process. Yes. Let's take a break. 24/7 to 8. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Edwin Adoga Otichilo is a country program manager at the Konrad Adenauer Foundation. We're talking about politics and elections, borrowing lessons from Germany. Konrad Adenauer is a foundation formed by the CDU party of Germany. It receives public funding from Germany, is spearheading democracy in various parts of the world, including Germany itself. Time for us to look at the traffic and the weather. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo-soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to SpiceFM.
Dare for fast relief from pounding, throbbing headache? Take Cipladon. The fizz works to relieve pain faster.
Available at all good pharmacies and now at Chandarana supermarkets. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
Nimeshindaje press kompe sija participate. Unadai info yangu na ikwe private mse. Identity yangu haupati hautumi. Details zangu ni zangu na bado nitazishikilia.
Wazazi watoina mayouth wetu. Usidanganywe, erevuka na ujibambe na burudani safe na masomo mtandaoni.
For information, visit cop.ke-cirt.go.ke/ report incidents on ke-cirt.go.ke or call 0703 042 700. The Communications Authority of Kenya. Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako.
Nairobi at 19, highs of 29 and lows of 15 today at 17 degrees. Nakuru is sunny, highs of 30 and lows of 25. Nyeri at 14 is sunny, highs of 29 and lows of 12. While we're looking at sunny conditions in Eldoret at 16, highs of 26 and lows of 13. It's mostly sunny at 27 in Mombasa. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 26. 26 will be the low in Malindi, where it's currently sunny at 27, going to highs of 32. We'll see highs of 28 in Kisumu. It's sunny at 22 and lows of 19, while in Kakamega it's still raining at 18, highs of 28 and lows of 16. Let's look out into Kampala, where it's sunny at 20, highs of 28 today, and 32 will be the high in a sunny Dar es Salaam. 14 degrees and rain continues in Johannesburg, highs of 19 and lows of 12, while clear conditions in Lagos at 27. We'll see highs of 32 at 24. Kinshasa is mostly clear. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 32.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo-soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to SpiceFM.
All right, outbound traffic on Mombasa Road today, especially around Imaradaima, still continues. Let's see what's going on coming from the Way Bridge towards Sabaki. It doesn't look too bad right now as you pass the Gateway Mall heading out towards the SGR. On the North Airport Road today is where we have some traffic. Outer Ring not looking too bad until you get just past that Savannah Road junction at Donholm, and then connecting with Manyanja Road. Outer Ring will give you a little bit of a headache there as you get towards the Thika Superhighway and Juja Road this morning. Thika Superhighway, speaking of, just past Survey out in that direction is still quite heavy. We're looking at Kiambu Road in and outbound traffic, as well as Limuru Road today has gotten really heavy now, coming off of Chiromo, connecting with Limuru Road, in the other direction connecting with Wangari Maathai. All right, so that's about the size of it. That's what it looks like now. Nothing too crazy just yet. Hopefully we can keep it just that way. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
From the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, we're talking about politics and elections in the country. So, Edwin, your foundation, you said, has been in the country since the 70s.
Yes.
The others, of course, also affiliated to German political parties, have also been in operation in this country for many years, more than 30, 40, 50 years in some cases. Others from other countries, we've had the Norwegians here, we've got the Swedes, we've got the British, the Americans have been in this country for many years. Now, if we look at a journey of democratization, we can even look at the push for the return to multi-party democracy in the late 80s, early 90s. I'm sure your organization and the others were very active at that point, working with the various actors in the country to push that conversation. Since then, what have you been doing? Can you point us to, let's say, a political formation and say, you know what, we have worked with several people in the political party space. We have supported them. They formed a party. They have entrenched democracy from us sharing ideas with them. And this is where they are. Can you point us to one?
Yes. So I would start with, of course, we work with various political parties and two very important, not partners, but cooperation parties that we've been keen on. And why this is important, it's because politics in Germany is based on ideology. And when we try to identify the parties, we try to identify parties not by asking them, but by doing a research to understand in the political spectrum where they are likely to, to sit. And we were able to identify KANU because of the political spectrum that puts KANU to be more of a centrist party. Of course, CDU is also a center-right party, and so we started working with KANU for quite some time, at least since 2016 to date. Of course, before that, we worked with the likes of NAC, and we made a very tremendous contributions towards stabilizing NAC, and after that, NAC Kenya and also Ford Kenya. But for KANU, it was very interesting for us because the other day you would agree with me that they were able to come up with their own KANU manifesto for 2022 to 2027. And these are, they may not have the energy right now when you ask Kenyans the importance of a manifesto, but some of us who've been in this field, we know that you stop politicians shooting in the dark. And what you're trying to tell politicians is what we want to whip you in such a way that when you are elected, it doesn't matter if your party leader is a president, you are able to stick, at least guided by that manifesto for the next 5 years. So if you're talking about roads, if you're talking about infrastructure, for instance, schools, the education sector, if you're talking about climate change, there is a document that helps to standardize your politics or give more information to what you're talking about. And you understand that politicians chant out everything. I mean, like if it comes to how they are really good in terms of noting out the problems, but how to fix the problem is now the thing that we are trying to kind of understand from a lot of politicians. And so for us, one of the biggest interesting outcomes from both ANC and KANU is that they have a manifesto. ANC, of course, had a manifesto in 2017. We worked with them just to improve their manifesto right now. And the whole essence is the party needs to have something that they can rely on to make political decisions.
Does it frustrate the process, looking at political parties, coming from one end of the spectrum where political parties based on ideology as they were originally envisioned to be based, and then working with political parties that are not based on ideology, but are carried by characters, individuals? Does it frustrate the process? And then how do you work around that? Because essentially what you're trying to do is to fit or to get them to go in a certain direction. And the very foundation is not on those ideologies. They're carried by the leader.
Yes.
How do you work around that?
It's one of the toughest jobs, I think, so far. Because the thing is that when you look at their constitutions, when you look not only, I think all the parties, because we've done quite an interesting analysis here and there, we realize that all parties have very interesting constitutions that speaks to certain ideologies. But when you talk to them, their body language sends you to a different ideology.
Or even not just body language, the things they say, the very things they say.
Yes.
You know?
And they struggle and they feel this is still foreign. And so we try to, remind them that this is okay for them to have an ideology or for them to have an idea. And it is one of the best ways of maturing a party, because then people would come to a party because they believe in certain ideology or in certain ideas that are. And the essence of an idea or ideology is that it speaks to the heart. It is something that you'd stick with because it represents you. And so when you fixed with ODM's ideology, you realize that irrespective of Raila Odinga being the party leader or not, you're going to be there because that ideology is what you'd want to walk through with. That is the biggest challenge right now. A few still find it foreign, but of course it again comes back to how our political culture, how we've been using political parties to what benefit. A few friends of mine have been saying that political parties are becoming enterprises.
Becoming.
They're becoming enterprises.
Becoming. Your friends have come rather late into the game. They have been enterprises for the longest time.
Yes, so but of course they now speak to maybe their research and studies, and they can be able to give you more resolute.
They can show you with history,
so they can follow and.
Eric, here, one of the very basic and most fundamental tools for data collection is observation. And yes, it is important to collect, collate, analyze, and present the findings of data. But even just from a casual observation, and this is the question I'm going to ask, with all the understanding, the research that has been done, is it possible for democracy to thrive on this continent amidst poverty?
Yes, that's one. The whole reason as to why you try to get power is the most important thing is to address poverty. That is always the first thing. And if you look at the debates and what politicians would say, 90% would be around poverty and how to address poverty. And it is not something that just started now. It started since independence. And if you look at, the strategies is corruption, disease, and so forth. Poverty, disease, and so forth. This is something that has been there, but democracy for me presents the best unique understanding on how to sort some of the problems, because first and foremost it allows institutions that are supposed to be mandated to represent the people and protect the people and protect public interest do their job. The idea that people have is every time you talk about democracy, they always just believe it's always about politicians and political parties. It is just one part, it's just one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is that you need, and this has to come from not just politicians but also from the civil society and also from the external push, that they have to be very strong institutions that can be able to hold even the most powerful people in the country to account. And this is also a very slow, but in most times you tend to see in countries like Malawi and so forth, steps are made, small steps are made. And even in the country right now, you tend to see that there are certain freedoms that we are enjoying right now that we couldn't be able to enjoy. And as we speak out, heads start rolling. People right now, if you look at how much we are trying to get in terms of properties and assets that have been, confiscated and given to the state, this is huge. This couldn't have happened if you had a very weak institution, because any person could bypass
there's
the
entrenchment of transparency and openness. But if you look at even what you talked about, your party CDU is center right,
center right,
center right, and then there are others that are left, others are right. Organizations from the West have been becoming the brand of Western democracy into the country. Is it universal? Can we say that democracy as is seen in the West is the same way it should be seen here? Is center in the West, center here? Is right in the West, right here, and left in the West, left here? Is it possible for us to actually have a different approach to our democracy?
Yeah, we can have a different approach
and
that
ideologies.
Approach and ideologies that work for us. But you tend to see that the same concept, because democracy, the concept still remains the same. You only contextualize the concept in such a way that it works for you. But if you ask me about ideology, for instance, and you are to look for what, from a scholar point of view, so if you are to look for what makes a certain ideology, for instance, so if you are conservative, so if you promote conservatism, there are certain things that are dear to you, and that is what I was saying, it speaks to you. There are people who, if you talk about family, it comes very key to them. They would say family comes first. There are people who would say discipline is very important, and so they would invest so much in structures and processes that make sure that there is a bit of public order and discipline, and that is just them. In the morning you'd realize that when you wake up, there's someone who has just to brush the shoes to be as clean as possible.
But the issue that we deal with here is that democracy seems to be aligned to capitalism.
Yeah.
And so you can't be democratic if you're not capitalistic. And yet, if you look at the tenets of socialism in my mind is more democratic.
Because everybody shares.
Yes.
Yes.
No, that's not entirely true. So if you look at the spectrum, I wish there's a center and then there's a left. You remember you say that, and there's the right. If you go towards the right, that is where capitalism comes.
You're being capitalist.
But if you go towards the left, that is also where what you're saying, social democracy, not socialism, but social democracy, you tend to see, because the idea of social democracy is that it helps to bring up certain levels that are down to a point where they can compete
with those who already are.
Yes. So it provides balance. So if you cannot afford, there's a way that the state can be able to come in and hold it for you, so that then you can be able to get to certain places. Even in Germany, you realize that as much as their center, CDU center, right, there are certain, social welfare, engagements that they do, just to make sure that if you're poor, you do not become poorer. there's a way that the state can fix that for you, but allows you to compete competitively. Because one of the best ways to, grow the economy, and studies have shown that, is capitalism. If you allow people, the freedom, if you allow the market the freedom to choose and to pick and to be able to thrive, then you can generate more income. And the only way that countries are able to make money is when they trade among themselves. And when you trade among yourselves, you're looking at the comparative.
But when that policy is unchecked, what then do you have?
And that is why I'm saying democracy, our politicians come in, because if you have, and the institutions come in, if you have an institution that helps to regulate, that helps to say, hey, this is a red flag, you cannot pass here, this is unfair. You're making too much money, but you're not paying your taxes. You need to pay your taxes according to how much you're making. And so in Germany it works because they say if you're getting more money, you pay more taxes, and you pay more taxes to help the ones who cannot be able to afford to come to that point where they can be able to also compete. So that system works, and they find it very difficult for you to circumvent, the system in such a way that you want to make quite a lot of money. And you remember the issue of Dubai. A lot of people would leave the Western countries and get to Dubai because it's easy now to maneuver. But in Western countries, it's strict. So we need to see how you make it.
But teacher, there's something that has always bothered me, and I want to ask it even before our time comes to an end. When foundations such as the one you work for work with our politicians and our institutions, how well do they get to understand the people they're working among? And how well do they understand our institutions? I ask this question because every time we have an election, we have observers. What they observe and what they think they see and what we know is actually happening tends to be at loggerheads.
True.
So I'm asking the question because they seem to have been here, you seem to have worked. But again, I'm asking the question, how well do these foundations understand the people they work amongst? And perhaps even the more important question, how influential are they?
Yes, I don't think... So two things. Either they are what you call the bilateral partners, very serious partners. The EU is a very serious partner, and EU has a very serious influence. But also, the way nation states interact with each other. There are rules and there are laws that prohibits you from internally, meddling with issues. And they are very careful to do that. And at times they are forced to sit on the fence and only observe and make their own recommendations. And it's up to the state to pick the recommendations. Of course, they can sanction, they can start the other processes when they think that things are not really working out. But that comes when it's really necessary. For us, of course, we understand who we work with. When you look at the people that ought to provide certain changes and to reflect these changes to society, they are equally very powerful people. And so you are always trying to sit with them down and trying to convince them. And you understand that the state has the ultimate, political and security powers. So the only best thing is...
There's only so far you can go.
Is just to do the soft politics and make your recommendations and make your recommendations.
Soft politics, really. You'll come back, Edwin, and we continue this conversation, because I think at some point we need to get into a point where we ask ourselves, do foundations such as yours, the other bilateral partners such as the European Union, do they have influence over the sovereignty of certain countries and how then they practice their democracy, how elections are held, outcomes of these elections? I mean, when we see Raila and Ruto going to speak in the UK, and they could be telling us those things here, or even speaking to the world from here, what does it say? Is it a balance of power? Come again.
Thanks. I will come. I think there's so much that we need to put into context. Only that time couldn't allow, but I'm happy to have been here, and thanks for the time. Looking forward.
Thank you. Edwin Adoga is a country program manager at Konrad Adenauer Foundation. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
The latest best news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire. I'm Dennis Assetto. The Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission has announced that KPMG will embark on auditing the voter register in the next 2 weeks after the firm won the tender out of 4 other firms. Speaking shortly after he was sworn in as the Commission's Chief Executive Officer, Marjan Hussain Marjan said they will sign the contract with KPMG in the next 14 days. The Commission's chairperson, Ofule Chebukati, pointed out that all procurement requirements are up to date and that the Commission is well set to deliver a fair, free, credible and verifiable election.
We've done almost all the procurements. We're now working on the register of voters, which we want should be ready in the next couple of days in time for audit. We have already procured an audit firm which will undertake the exercise, and thereafter we shall subject the register to Kenyans for purpose of verification of their biometrics and other details. So we are at a good place compared to where we were in the 2017 period.
Meanwhile, the Commission says it will summon Gatundu South Member of Parliament Moses Kuria over his claims that the 2017 election was rigged in favour of President Uhuru Kenyatta. Commission's chairperson Ofule Chebukati said Kuria will be required to shed light on these allegations but remained adamant that the elections were free, fair and credible.
We want to know what they mean by saying we stole votes. We want to know. And so we hope that they will tell us what they mean, because we don't know what is this that they could have done, or the particular individual you're talking about says he did. We all want to hear.
He added that the statements by DP William Ruto will equally be looked into and a way forward given.
About the remarks by the Deputy President, I've not read those remarks. I think when the Commission looks at them, then we shall be in an informed position to give our comments. I've not read exactly what he said, although I've seen some media captions on it, but we shall give our comments on the same and the way forward as soon as we look at the remarks by the
Now, all scrap metal dealers will have to seek fresh licensing as part of measures aimed at curbing runaway vandalism associated with the sector. The fresh licensing directive is among new regulations that have been proposed to control the sector before lifting of a ban on the trade of scrap metal ordered by President Uhuru Kenyatta on January 20th this year. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, who chaired a meeting attended by the dealers and regulatory agencies, said the ban will only be lifted if the new regulations are adhered to. The Interior CS warned that going forward, vandals will be treated as economic saboteurs and will be charged under the counter-terrorism laws. Now, religious leaders have continued to call on police officers to seek help in dealing with marital disputes. Charles Kiwanuka, a Catholic priest in Kempsa in Trans Nzoia County, said that although police officers are considered to be brave and resilient in dealing with the challenges they face, it is important to realize that they are also human beings and need help, especially counseling.
Some challenges, they affect our families. Most of the security personnel, they have problems mostly, and they lack somebody to share with, because when they're in the field, there's that seriousness they have to show, and they have no time to remove stress. At times, things of the work zipaki kazini. Tukifika kwa familia, these are different things. We also give ourselves out for you that if you have some things which are affecting you, you can approach us as clergy. Don't die alone with your challenges. We can always journey together and advise you, counsel you, and journey with you.
According to a report by the Police Service Commission last year, approximately 113 police officers were receiving treatment, among them 109 males and 4 females. Dr. Vincent Makoha, director in the Preaching and Mental Health Unit, says appropriate strategies have been put in place by the police service to address the problem in the country. Now, detectives in Nairobi have thwarted attempts by a suspected con artist to fraudulently obtain millions of shillings from selling an apartment that did not belong to him. Hussein Farhuddin Mohammed Bai was nabbed minutes before he inked a deal to sell the apartment in Nairobi's Westlands area, according to a statement from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. The 3-bedroom all-ensuite bedroom worth over 40 million shillings at the prevailing market rate was being disposed of at 11 million shillings. The owner of the property got wind of the scheme and notified the Serious Crime Unit, Serious Detectives, through the Fichua Kwa DCI hotline. Detectives have since established that the suspect is a serial fraudster who was accused of swindling and suspecting victims of close to 9 million shillings in a similar scheme. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
All right, spilling over, going towards North Airport Road today, so we see most of the traffic coming off of Mombasa Road. We have some then at that SGR section going for. I know folks are really complaining about that shut off on that part of the connection then towards the expressway. It looks like everybody just has to go around. There's nothing we can do about that now. Hopefully they'll warn us when such things happen in the future. One can only hope. A little bit of traffic on the southern bypass, and this is coming off the Likoni interchange, but nothing too crazy for now. Langata Road coming towards Uhuru Highway, where a lot of traffic now happening going towards the CBD. Hasn't been too terrible on the Thika Superhighway today. We're looking at traffic just after the Utali Drift and heading out towards the Mathari turnoff, and then coming off of Kiambu Road. It's good because we have inbound traffic only today. That means maybe we're down to 3 or 4 lanes. Good things. In the belly of Gigiri, quite a lot of traffic then coming out towards Limuru Road today. In and outbound traffic is what we will see for some time. And apart from that, doesn't look like anything too scary except for the eastern bypass, where it still continues going out towards Ruai, and then we see that Kangunda Road is starting to pile up as well. Still in traffic hour. Let's take a look at what it looks like in about half an hour, and then let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to
17th
start.
day of March 2022. It's 8 minutes after 8. This is the third hour of our show this morning. If you're just joining us, thank you very much and a very good morning to you. Whether you are tuned in on KTN Home, on SpiceFM, or online where we are live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook. Karibu sana. We'll have a conversation next time about bridging the gap in healthcare. We know there's a rollout of the universal health coverage, and we'll be talking about that. We've been talking about that. We shall be talking about that in coming days as well. We have 2 guests in the studio, but before we introduce them, let's go back to the Sudan.
Proverb of the Day, brought to you by Communications Authority of Kenya.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing. We were specific here. Ant here is siafu, not someone's relative, si auntie. Okay?
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear
an ant singing. Yes.
Okay. Can't you hear the ant?
You know, some of those ants, given their size, they border on being microscopic. So forget hearing it. Even seeing it sometimes is a problem.
Those that confuse the E's and the H's.
What?
My ear cannot hear the hunt.
Lord. If you're Kenyan, you'll know exactly what you've been through.
Oh, of course. You understand everything.
Proverb of the Day, brought to you by Communications Authority of Kenya. Teach your kids about online threats and how to stay safe online by reporting incidences of internet misuse to ke-cirt.go.ke or call 0703 042 700. Mawasiliano kwetu, nguvu kwako.
Okay, now let's introduce our guests who join us in the studio. Professor Wangari Mwai is a Director of Training, Research and Innovation at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital. From the same facility is Dr. Onyimbo Kerama, who is the Deputy Director of Clinical Services. Prof. and Daktari, welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. Good to have you on the hot seat. Prof, you heard that you were coming and so your voice started running away. Bring it back.
Jesus' name.
Amen.
Indeed. KUTRRH. It's every time we talk about KUTRRH. So this is one of those facilities that, of course, we know teaching, referral, and then for KU, they decided for good measure, let's add the R. Research. Why? Why, Prof?
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry about my voice. I'll try my best to be clear. It's a pleasure to be here. And the hospital is a hospital like any other. We start from there. Mm-hmm. It is a hospital like any other, but it wants to make a difference. It wants to bridge gaps that have been there in healthcare, especially in the public sector. We know the difference that Kenya has in public and private domains. That's why research is there. Because for every treatment, for every discussion between the doctors, we want it to be evidence-based. We want it to be scientific. And therefore, that's why research is there. That whatever we do is going to be backed by scientific knowledge, by data collection, and very serious discussions. After the data is collected and analyzed, then there is the training of doctors to understand the findings. So that's why we have research in our name. In brief, we call it KUTRA. But because if you do the acronym, it's quite long to do.
So
yes.
We actually have a very simple way of looking at it. We say we serve, we teach, and we discover. That's it.
Serve, teach, and discover.
Yeah.
It's clear.
It's interesting that has come in because the research component has been something that has taken a lot of flack, has taken a lot of hit across the board. I mean, you have things like Abuja declarations that happened many years ago. You have where people talk about research and say without a proper discovery of information, it would be very difficult then to make decisions about things going forward. Would you say that those are some of the things that have fueled the institution to say, you know what, if we don't have this component, then we are kind of, poking in the dark?
Yeah, absolutely. So you bring up a very interesting topic about the Abuja Declaration and the entire gaps, as my prof says. The entire topic really is bridging the gap. And what KUTRH has done, the concept began somewhere in 2010 when President Uhuru Kenyatta was the DPM, or the Deputy Prime Minister, and Professor Mugenda. So that is where the entire topic became. And the idea was to try and just think properly about how all these things. There was obvious neglect of healthcare for the last 40 years, 50 years. And the Abuja Declaration said we should have at least 15% of healthcare budget, of the budget of the country, to go to healthcare. But we do not do that. And the DPM then, the president now, said we need to have a stimulus package of about 60 billion every year for 10 years. And then we'll be able to bridge the gap and fill up what has been missed for the last 40 years. And then continuously have an incremental 2% per year till we achieve the 15%. Now, KUTRH, you realize by the time it was being came up, if you look at the 6 pillars of WHO healthcare, they say the 6 pillars of health, one of it is leadership. That is what Prof. Mugenda has actually come to think and have a vision. And the story we always give about is about making, when a 6-year-old makes lemonade, that 6-year-old, if you think about all the components of that 6-year-old making lemonade and selling it, that's exactly how healthcare should be. And the Abuja Declaration, you need leadership. So that baby who is thinking about making lemonade has a vision. They need financing. So they need that 10 shillings to buy lemon and water, isn't it? So that's exactly how to look at healthcare and what KUTRH has done. Then you have access to minimal essentials like drugs. So access to that lemon is very important. Then you need some data, and that's what exactly my prof says. You need data to know who is buying this lemon, who is giving this lemon. So eventually that comes up about data collection, health information systems, and then you need HR, proper HR, and finally you need to give the service. So this is the summary of what KUTRH has come to field in the topic of universal healthcare.
And considering also that this is the first public hospital attached to a university. The dream Professor Mugenda had, forming it from Kenyatta University. A university hospital cannot operate without data. That's what makes a university: data collection, conferences, seminars to share the same and use the same practically. So being a university hospital, we have no choice but to collect data, share it, use it, and make a difference in the lives of Kenyans and beyond. It's beyond Kenya, actually. Yes.
A little clarification here, if I may. We have the University of Nairobi Medical School working with Kenyatta. Kenyatta is a national hospital. So Kenyatta, you could argue, is independent, but they have a working relationship. Then you have Moi. There's a hospital, there's a university. How different is the understanding that we have in KU, because the university existed before the hospital? Now, is the hospital part of the university, or is the hospital independent?
Is it owned by the university?
Just so that I understand.
I think you've answered.
I have.
In the question, you've answered in the fact that in the two cases, the hospitals were developed separately from the universities. Kenyatta Hospital is 100 years old. It was established. And then UN borrowed space to teach its doctors there. So they had an MOU. Moi Hospital the same. The hospital was built, the university was built, they looked for each other later. It's like a marriage. But for Kenyatta University, the thinking was a university hospital from the word go. And therefore the relationship continues in that Kenyatta University, although is a different parastatal now, because of the management, the leadership we talked about in the beginning, then they look like they're separate, because you cannot combine health, education at the same time. So Kenyatta University runs under the Ministry of Health. It's a different parastatal. The hospital, for it to run smoothly, it is run as a parastatal, a state corporation in the Ministry of Health.
So the hospital is like KNH?
No.
In terms of at the Ministry of Health level?
Good, yes.
It's like KNH in terms of it's answerable to the Ministry of Health as a parastatal. And now, in order to work with this structure, we had to move the university from under the ambit of education and move it into health.
Not the university.
Just the hospital. Okay. You've answered your question, Siti.
I must be careful not to ask questions where and then I proceed to respond to it adequately. But you see, the reason why I ask is because it's this same question again of the harmonious working that now enables the progress that Kenyatta University is actually talking about now. Because if you have two separate entities with an MOU, my friend, the MOU may be the unifying factor, but your visions and aspirations are completely different.
Not when the university is also in the board and in other committees. We have a joint implementation committee of the relationship between Kenyatta University and the hospital. I am the chair. And there's no other university, no other institution has such a committee to ensure the smooth, harmonious relationship between the two institutions. So I think for an outsider, it's a bit difficult to see it. And the fact that the hospital is still young, it has to pick itself first, then relate. But there are very serious plans ongoing on the ground to play that relationship and to make it harmonious. Yes.
But Professor, the fact that the hospital is young, that is in fact the huge advantage that it has. It doesn't have the baggage of history to tag along as it's trying to bring on new things. history can be the new things you use, because there isn't anything to hinder you from doing what you want to do. You start off with all these things that other people keep struggling to fit into existing structures, which will not allow for new things to come about.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Yes.
And by having a joint implementation committee for the relation between KU and Kenyatta, I think it's the first one anyway in the country to ensure that smooth flow. And Kenyatta students are researching within the hospital. Kenyatta University the university is the hospital is a research site for the students. It is also a clinical rotation site for the senior students. Remember, we are level 6. So we didn't want to introduce, like, from first year, the medical students can come in. But they're free to go to other institutions, like any other. But when you bring a student of first year medicine to a referral hospital, they're going to be seeing cases that are limited and all that. But I think the best thing is to know that a lot has been done to ensure that, and it's an agreement that is working.
You know, but the University of Nairobi always had something similar. People started visiting the hospital in third year. Third year is when you actually got to mix and mingle. But something that has always concerned me with reference to our universities is something that the two of you have emphasized since you got into this space: research. Collaboration between institutions that conduct research has always been there in this country. My concern is this: when you talk of funding, it means an institution outside the country who have funding, either whether it's private or whether it's the national government, but they have funding. And for them to have it, it means their country recognizes the importance. How much does our government support research?
All right, so we have up to 800 million set aside for research.
800 million Kenya shillings.
Kenya shillings, and that was for the year when we had COVID.
That is, government has that aside?
No, that's a KUT advantage.
Okay.
So this topic is something that has been ventilated a lot, and going forward, the objective is to try and have at least 25 papers published per month. That is the objective. Right now, we have 12 studies going on, 2 of them which are clinical trials. And so we are very excited about all this. And the people doing these researchers are young doctors, young nurses, and it's very exciting to see the things they are working on. Right now, one of the topics they are dealing with is long COVID. And so the hospital started in 2019, and before we could even stand up, we had to care for the country with COVID. And it was a very exciting time to see Kenyans give their, even before vaccines were there, we saw altruistic Kenyan doctors and nurses really care for Kenyans, the vulnerable Kenyans. So, yeah, I mean, we have to talk about the entire topic about research, it's something that going forward you will see being very good, being very robust as it is right now. I will talk about the Manchester child, if you don't mind.
Please.
All right, so just 2 days ago, the hospital signed a memorandum of understanding with the University of Manchester on the study of cancer of the esophagus. It so happens that in UK, the cancer of the esophagus is a type called adenocarcinoma, but the one that we see here in Kenya is called squamous cell. It's quite different. And so the reason why that study was chosen was because whereas when you compare breast cancer diagnosis and mortality, you find that the people who are diagnosed, you find chances of survival in 5 years are probably, with everything considered, you find chances of survival by 5 years is more than 70%. But when you consider for cancer of the esophagus, chances of survival in 5 years is 0. 99.9% of the patients who are diagnosed with cancer of the esophagus by the second year are dead.
In this country.
In this country.
Yes.
So that is a very grim picture. That is the reason that has become one of the biggest studies. Right now, one of the biggest burdens of CA esophagus is in Meru. My professor will tell you that. In one of the villages in Maua, we're having very high prevalence rates, and the reasons we are not clear. Are they responding well to treatment? The entire access to healthcare for celiac esophagus has become one of the biggest sores in the Ministry of Health. Once you are diagnosed, most likely it's going to be late. And you get your chemotherapy to try and shrink the cancer, and you get your radiotherapy to try and just make sure that it's controlled. But access to surgery after that is a waiting time that is probably more than 1 year in public healthcare. So those are the things that KUTRH has come to fill that gap, to make sure we are able to give dignity, to change those statistics from almost 100% mortality to survival rates of up to 70 in 5 years. So this is the interesting part. And the second part about this entire Manchester study is to be able to have affordable endoscopies in public healthcare. So we'll probably get 2 towers from that entire study. The third topic we're going to have is to try and find out what really is the genetic type. How do we really respond to our chemos? So the entire idea of having genetic markers to know if Muga is actually responding to chemotherapy, or are we just giving poison and So to be able to study and see that out of everyone who got this chemotherapy, this was the response. And that is called evidence-based. And that's actually the genius about what KUTRH is doing. To deliberately have courage, to have leadership that is visionary. And I'm very excited to be part of this conversation because this is the direction we should be going. 47 counties in Kenya should actually embrace this. And
that's the question. How are you tying this research with the county governments? For example, in this particular case of Maua in Meru, how is KUTRH working with the Meru County government?
Thank you so much. We have MOUs with the counties already, and you're working before the program, before the research, before the grant. We was already working with counties. And this particular funding, although it's external, Muga, KUTRH is just a hub for the research. But you have 5 spokes, which are counties: Kisii, Meru, Nyeri, and a few others. There are 5. And so the data, Kisii is very strong with Kisii University, Kisii Level 5. Then we have Kisumu, and the counties are working with us. Data is going to be collected from the counties, analyzed at the hub, discussed and shared, disseminated through publications, journals and books, and of course conferences and seminars. Something that Dr. Ari forgot to mention is that in June, we actually have an oncology conference. We are running it with him and a few others. So, and you're making it go out to the counties, let them come, give us the ideas. And even within the conference and Manchester grant, all this is going to be done. Make sure that not everything is in Nairobi. Make sure that the counties are involved. Make sure that data is collected from the ground. And the respondents are from the ground. And the researchers are from the ground. So in brief, we are the hub, but they are the spokes that are going to work with us.
So if I could just add on that is actually the genius about this. The
spoke and hub.
So the hub and the spoke. We have 5 spokes. We have 4 spokes. We have Meru, as you're asking. We have Kisii, we have Nakuru, and we have Kiambu as the spokes. Now, the idea is that they give chemotherapy on location. They do the surgery on location, but the samples. And that's the biggest part about this research topic. The samples that we collect from all this, from Kisii, and Governor Ngoy has been very strong about this, and we had a delegation from Meru. They are able to send those samples to the hub, KUTRH, where we're going to be having what I'm telling you is called the next-gen sequencing, to be able to define what is the genetic type of persons and how they respond to treatment, so that if we collect data for the next 5 years, we'll be able to say with certainty that this is working and this is not working.
Are there timelines and milestones that you're looking at?
Oh, yeah. So for implementing this, it's ongoing. As we speak today, the delegation is in Kisii, and they have just set up a strong cancer center in Kisii. We already have an ongoing cancer center in Meru, and the CEC there was very strong about it. And we already have oncologists in the cancer center in Meru. So we have 2 cancer centers ongoing. KUTRH and Meru, and the Kisii Cancer Center is now being set up to make sure so that surgeries and chemotherapy are done on location.
Big conversation that we're having this morning, bridging the gap in healthcare. The Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital is here with us. Professor Wangari Mwai is the Director of Training, Research and Innovation at the University Hospital, and Dr. Onyimbo Karama is the Deputy Director of Clinical Services. We're talking about what the university hospital is doing in terms of research, in terms of looking at understanding our disease burden. And here we've moved into the non-communicable diseases. Cancer is a big one. It's a big burden to the country. We'll understand exactly what you are doing further to this. Let's take a break at 8:30. Kenya's Biggest Conversation is live on KTN Home, on SpiceFM, and on YouTube and Twitter, at YouTube and Facebook. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Dare for fast relief from fever? Take Ciplodon. The fizz works to relieve pain and fever faster.
Available at all good pharmacies and now at Chandarana supermarkets. If symptoms persist, seek medical advice.
I hope you don't believe that Hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making his a living through hard work. The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kano, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Madare, presidential tour. And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the enemies says, kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
The sun is out in Nairobi. It's 21 degrees. Highs of 29 and lows of 15 today. 19 degrees and sunny in Nakuru. Highs of 30 and lows of 14. We'll see lows of 12 in a sunny Nyeri at 17. Going to highs of 29. And Eldoret is cloudy at 19. Highs of 26 and lows of 13. It's mostly cloudy at 28 in Mombasa. Highs of 32 and lows of 25. We'll see lows of 26 in Malindi where it's sunny at 28. And Kisumu is raining now at 23, highs of 29 and lows of 20, while Kakamega is sunny at 20, highs of 28 and lows of 16. Kampala cloudy at 23, highs of 28 and partly sunny conditions at 28 in Dar es Salaam. 32 will be the high and lows of 27. Partly sunny in Johannesburg at 14, highs of 19 and lows of 12. It's mostly clear in Lagos at 27. We'll go to highs of 33 and we'll see highs of 32 in Kinshasa, where it's mostly sunny at 24. All right, so looking at Gong Road, which is quite busy heading out towards community and into the city. It's going to connect with Haile Selassie, where there's quite some traffic coming off that Kamkunji roundabout, which is feeding off Landis Road today. So that whole circuit, that whole line, quite a lot of traffic this morning. Aerodrome heading onto Huru Highway, coming off Langata Road, has quite something today. So all roads leading to the CBD. Chiromo is doing that thing this morning, and it's connecting all the way to the Thika Superhighway out past the Utali Drift. Kiambu Road not doing too badly right now. I think folks got that memo. And Limuru Road also reducing in traffic, but we're going to see most of the action coming out of Westlands, from Ring Road Westlands to Chiromo, Wayaki Way. Red Hill Link Road, folks, use that as an option to get out of the madness. See what's happening on the Eastern Bypass. Earlier, we had seen that clog up. No, well, that's quite something as you're getting out towards the Kankundo Road junction. All right, that's what it looks like now. Let's see what it looks like in about half an hour. But it seems like folks are moving along swiftly. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there. Text 40127.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
It's 25
Nairobi.
minutes to 9. The conversation continues, bridging the gap in healthcare. We've got the bosses from the Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital. Professor Wangari Mwai is the Director of Training, Research and Innovation. Big boss. Another big boss, Dr. Onyimbo Kerama, Deputy Director of Clinical Services. I see you. I'm doing that deliberately. We've got the persons here. Just before we went to the break, we were talking about the disease burden in the country, and cancer and non-communicable diseases are emerging as big. You have just signed that partnership with the University of Manchester. You're telling us about the Spoken Hub and the research that you're doing in the various spokes, KU being the hub. KU also recently launched a facility that's first of its kind in the region. President Uhuru Kenyatta was there last year, and it was called what? Molecular Imaging Center for Cancer Care.
Integrated Molecular Imaging Center.
What is that, Dr. Ali?
Good. So it's called an IMIC Center, and the idea, to simplify it, is to be able to catch cancer early. Cancer by its very nature loves sugar, okay? And so we inject sugar in your body, but we make sure it also has some radioactivity, the sugar that we give you. And then we take a picture of your body. If we find sugar collecting in one particular area, we know that there is cancer there. This is particularly important in trying to see if you have cleared the cancer from the body. This is particularly for what is called non-solid tumors. So things like lymphoma. You find you get treatment to the hand using something called a CHOP therapy. And 6 weeks or 3 months after the fact, we do the IMIC, the scan, the PET scan. So we shoot your body with sugar, and then we take a picture. And if there is nothing everywhere, you know the patient is now cancer-free. That's a very important part, because then NHIF pays for one scan annually. As soon as the first signs of sugar collection or the first sign of cancer coming back, you go back to treatment. And the genius about this is that you are able to catch cancer early. And even in follow-up, so you have better survivability in 10 years than in a scenario where you do not have a pet, where you could rely on an MRI and a CT scan, which are not as sensitive as this IMIC center.
Right. Medical practitioners telling us, across board that everybody's trying to go towards the preventative versus the curative, right? So this is one of the things that you're talking about.
Yes.
So what then would be the message? And I guess the question is kind of threefold, because we've had a huge burden on the available facilities, especially for cancer treatment, whereby now, unfortunately, we see that, some folks who go there cannot be treated for 1, 2, 3 other reasons. Chemotherapy, radiation, extremely important then when it comes to the treatment of cancer. Are the doors at KUTRH open for Kenya to come and get this treatment? And then what is the message on prevention then with the IMAC Center?
Thank you very much. Thank you. What a complex question. So I will try and start with the first one. To be able to talk about the entire topic about prevention of cancer, it really begins with primary health care, what we eat, what we use, the alcohol we take, and the cigarettes we smoke. To be able to prevent, say, cancer of the cervix, it's important to talk about vaccines. I mean, it has to be as a major public health discussion, which should be led by the highest officers in this country, so that if today we are having cervix being the biggest killer of our women, when it comes to the number one cancer in Kenya, then the conversation has to, when should we start giving our daughters the
vaccine.
HPV vaccine. So you realize then it becomes a public health conversation. It's no longer actually a KUTRH conversation.
Yes.
It becomes a
national
conversation. And we must have the courage to discuss about such difficult topics. I know we will have a lot of emotions flying, but we have to be realistic and have this conversation and eventually agree. When we talk about prevention of other cancers like cancer of the breast, we have to talk about access to screening services and
affordable.
Absolutely. And it actually comes to the entire topic again about research. We're seeing more younger and younger women getting very aggressive breast cancer. We need data. We need data to understand how is it that our sisters are getting cancer at 33 and it's very aggressive. And yeah, so these are the topics we have to discuss, make sure we have enough data to try and find out what is our reality. Because if we use the world reality or reality that is from minorities, then probably one day it's not going to be correct. We'll continue about talking about things like colon cancer. I'm going to talk about the top 5 only. Colon cancer. Most of the people start having challenges, they're having abdominal pain and they're told, oh, it's H. pylori, Isn't it?
Yep.
And so, if today I cannot have my medical insurance card, how then do I get to have a colonoscopy, an endoscopy in a public hospital? There are very few public hospitals offering colonoscopy services. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the conversation we must have. How do you make sure that we have enough colonoscopy, endoscopy services in public hospitals, which then are covered by NHIF quickly? Have enough human resource to make sure these things are done regularly. What should we discuss about the public health concerns about smoking? We know that smoking causes up to 30% of all the cancers we know. It's directly implicated with cancer of the throat, cancer of the lungs. We know it as a fact. But somehow we do not want to discuss this difficult conversation. We must, when it comes to prevention of cancer, we must discuss this.
We must go. We must accept to discuss the painful
Be
topics.
uncomfortable about it. Be uncomfortable about it. Then find solutions.
Absolutely.
But we don't want to be uncomfortable because it ruffles feathers here and there. And then maybe also demands responsibility and accountability from other quarters in order to have it out in the open.
And big money pushes back, So
It does, but from a local perspective, the thing that Kenyatta University is doing, which in my mind is mind-blowing in the most wonderful way possible, is this focus on research. But I have to ask the question, how much social science research are you also involved in? Because you cannot have an effective approach or policy towards preventative care if the social science element is lacking.
Oh, good. That's a good question. Social science research is embedded in every research that we do. Even with the Manchester one, we're going to have the social science research aspects of it. For instance, we are asking even the impact of the sickness on family, that's psychosocial, and even the reasons that lead to either smoking, are they social, are they psychological, are they physical? So social science research is embedded in every research that we are doing. In all the spokes, we have a social science approach so that everybody is able to give facts about not only how they feel due to their sickness, but also how they feel psychologically and otherwise. So it is embedded in all the researches.
I'm going to ask 2 questions. One, when you determined on the spokes that you're working with, what were you looking for? What was the criteria for determining whether it is Meru, Kisi?
The incidences,
the disease burden.
The disease burden was key. And then there is there's something that needs researcher, because you wonder why those areas.
That is the question. That
the why is very
why.
The why and the who is very important. If in Meru you are getting throat or esophageal cancer, what's the cause of that? A lot of antidotes, a lot of rumors, let me call them that, out there. They say Meru because of Mira. They say in Western Kenya because of the hot tea. Busa, all those antidotes are on. But we want to say, what is causing this? And why is the burden getting heavier and heavier? We talk about food. Is it true? So anyway, that's why research is very important. We are bridging the gap in terms of facts and knowledge before action is taken. Yeah, so that's a fact.
Can we? I think when we started this conversation, we talked about how important research is to be able to do all of these. Because you're saying, okay, now look at these spokes around the country. And then say, the only way we can answer that question is by having adequate and relevant data then that would then fuel decisions that we would then make. But I think we're also looking at the general public who make up, these high numbers that we are seeing in terms of information that people have. How often should I go in? If I'm feeling a certain type of way, what do I need to do? Do I just need to swallow the odd, Panadol and I'll be all right after? But when should I actually come in and get treated? I see that as, in the long run, making the work on the side of medicine a little bit easier if the people have information about how they also ought to act. So how is this then encompassed in the work that's being done in terms of public knowledge and information?
Mm-hmm.
Your questions are very difficult. So that's health-seeking behavior. Health-seeking behavior really has to be, it's a community challenge. And most of it is taught to us from primary school, secondary school, and eventually from our societies like church.
Is it actually taught or is it learned behavior?
Yeah, there's a lot of it which is taught probably in primary school, but most of it really is probably learned. And the idea of trying to make sure our population is educated, that is where the conversation has to begin. When you have a more empowered citizenry, you find that their health-seeking behavior will be probably more proactive than somebody in a disadvantaged area. Their health-seeking behavior will be when they cannot take it anymore. So this is a very interesting conversation, particularly for especially in the inequality that we see in most of our countries in Africa. If you go to areas where there's inequality and you find that they make less than $1 a day, they eat 1 meal a day, the access to hospitals is more than 500 kilometers away, access to the nearest nurse is more than 100 kilometers away, their health-seeking behavior will probably be informed by hubs. And so these are major challenges. The only way to bridge that, you find the conversation moves away from the health worker back to the leadership of the country to make sure that we reduce the inequalities and make sure that the decisions as I make them today will probably be the decisions that somebody else is able, because we are bridging the inequality. Make sure there's roads, there's jobs, there's food.
Right. See, there's a conversation that often accompanies this discussion that we're having here. It is now behavior change intervention. And that's why I brought in the issue of the social science component. And with the social science component is the community health worker component. Because by their very nature, community health workers tend to be members of certain societies and communities. So in many ways, they're also gatekeepers. They're people who are readily listened to, and their advice or whatever they are willing to talk about is easier received than an outsider who has these big ideas and which...
A big title.
Yes, big title, respectful, yes, but people receive it with a pinch of salt. Now, waiting for government to take the initiative, where health is a devolved function, the very process of even engaging community health workers so that this preventative aspect of healthcare, which we actually had and very effective for a long time ago, and somehow we just let it die, if county governments haven't been able to actually initiate this cost-efficient, effective way of helping with the health services, surely, and their governments. Now, I think that it's when research organizations and setups and universities such as yourselves come in, that much needed impetus that can be injected to jumpstart this thing and continue getting it to work. Since you already have MOUs with the county governments, it becomes imperative. Because on their own, they will not do it.
I have a few things to say, can I?
Yes, a few. Say a lot, my brother.
All right, so I have been an observer of how healthcare has grown from 2009 up to today. Before that, there was there was a lot of gaps. Before that, there were healthcare workers left the country, nurses continued living. There was an exodus. All right, but deliberately we have seen salaries for health workers increase. We have seen much higher retention of doctors in the country. We have seen, with the movement of healthcare from government, national government to county government, we've seen a bigger investment in healthcare. Over the last 10 years, we have seen topics that were forgotten, like Health Management Information System, HIS. It has moved from paper to digital. The country has succeeded to have very strong data collection from as low level as dispensaries. Okay, it's true most of the dispensaries are still using paper, but in the next 50 years, if you try and think about what Kenya is going to be in the next 50 years, if the population today is going to 45 million, in the next 50 years, we're thinking about 120 million. We must get it right. And the only way to get it right is to make sure things like healthcare financing, therefore NHIF, becomes too important. Things like data, making sure health information systems are digitized. Who is giving care? Who is getting care? We should all have one vocabulary. If I'm talking about diabetes, and he should not write DM. And so by the end of the day, we should be able to say, this is the many malarias, this is the many diabetes we've seen today. To be able to know that these are the number of full hemograms, to digitize that, to be as efficient as Facebook or any of these. And if we can do that in the next 20 years, or in the next 10 years, we will have very good data, basic data, daily, verifiable quality. And so by the time you get to the health workforce training, to make sure we have enough urologists, enough gastros, enough nurses to care for these patients, and therefore all that service delivery, you find that, and this is very important, that healthcare, by its very nature, is a service-based industry. So for when you come, to be able to have customer satisfaction, full stop, nothing else, just so that you come and you feel, nimeona daktari. And it's quality care. It's not just kuona daktari and we make sure we laugh. No. So for you to come, get quality care and you leave satisfied, Kenya has to put a lot of investment in this topic. And that means money. That means 15%. 15% is a lot of money if you think about it.
But think about it. If you look at the human resource component of healthcare, the government does do an excellent job of training human resource, which they then can't absorb. The development you speak of is actually true. But a lot of that development has actually come from partners who have assisted the healthcare system in bringing it about. The government has had a say, yes. But look at the input that PEPFAR, for instance, put in the healthcare system over the years, going to 20 now. A lot of the changes we talk about were brought about by some of this because they didn't just go to HIV and AIDS. It also went into healthcare systems at the national level. Now, the moment that assistance is pulled aside, you see, this is where now it gets tricky for us. Is the government able to pick up or just continue with what was there and grow it? And that's where the 15% you're speaking about comes in handy, because it then guarantees that continuity.
It is true. By the year 2002, by the time President Bill Clinton was president, the PEPFAR program came, and it really helped Kenya on the topic of HIV and tuberculosis. And the Global Fund also came in and also really shouldered the burden for malaria. But over the years, over the last 10 years, there has been a lot of investment from Treasury to some of these big topics. In the last 20 years, we moved from a 40% prevalence of malaria to now in eradication phase. In most places like Nairobi, do not see any more malaria. This has been very deliberate for the last 20 years. So I really appreciate that you actually accept that there has been a lot of movement. And I go ahead and try and reaffirm that there's been more spending from the exchequer to healthcare, and especially these big topics like HIV and malaria. But yes, for a very long time, almost 100% of the funding to these big programs was through donor funding. But over the years, we have started, and I think with the challenges that we saw last year on treatment for HIV, there was a lot of conversation on how we should be able to nationalize this expenditure to these programs like HIV, tuberculosis,
Professor Mwai, obviously here with KUTRH, there is funding that has been made available. I mean, we're talking about reserves for research and things like that. Where is this coming from? And where do you hope that more of it will come from in the future? Because it is clearly that not the bulk of it is from government. Where is it from?
The bulk of it is from the government. And we're doing a lot of proposal writing to attract funds from the international, is it National Health, NIH,
National Cancer Control Program and
yes.
the National Cancer Institute.
Yes, it's more of grant writing. And the good thing about it is you don't write as an individual. You approach it from different institutions. Okay. And therefore, it helps a lot in that funding is not stuck to one institution. It spreads out, brings out the data from the ground, and also incorporates even the doctors and other health providers who are there. So much of the funding is actually government, as you said. Yeah, but we're also trying to attract more funds.
But we received 446 million from Manchester United.
The University of Manchester.
We know where someone's football interests are.
But and actually, this is from the National Institute of Health, funding Manchester and Kutru. We wrote the proposal. We sat overnight. Nights to do the proposal.
Proposal writing is many sleepless nights.
Yes, I agree with you. So the funding is not really Manchester. It's a joint project. We work towards a proposal, the two of us, the two institutions, but it's coming from the National Institute of Health.
NIH.
The money itself. So these are global funding.
Sure.
But still we have the government funding, and we hope that it will help change the mindset, as Muga is saying, that we should be able to have sustainable approaches to health, so that we don't depend too much. The dependence syndrome of help shall come in on donors. Yeah. We hope there will be a way out as we continue learning. I don't know where Muga you expect more funds from. Say the government or funds or grants. Yes.
You know what you say.
Yeah.
At the heart of it is when, in my view, is when you encourage research and you give it priority. Essentially what you're doing is you're training and teaching people to write grants. Now, when you started from the lowest level, where somebody gets a $1,000 grant to a 10 and so forth, you will have research grants at very different levels. But you'll also be growing people who can then now write the really huge grants. See, our government tells us it's 0.2%, I think, of our annual budget is what's supposed to go into research. Because is it 2% or 0.2? Let's make it 0.2, because 2% will be too much. Okay? Now, the process of actually accessing those grants is a very tedious process. Okay? In my mind, it tells me it is not a priority. And it's not a priority because those in the research world have not made the government understand just how important research is. Because if the government understood it, I am certain they would open those taps a lot freer. They just think it's one of those things that people do. It isn't. It's at the heart of everything we do. It's not just health. The decision making we make in every aspect of our lives within government, research is at the very, very, very fundamentals of it. Yes. So again, it's the research people, the research world who have failed. This is their failure. It's not government failure. It's their failure.
To answer Prof's question, CT,
yes.
Where do you expect the extra money to come from?
It's from the researchers. It's from the researchers.
Who are funded.
Yes. If researchers...
State funding, that is public funds, or coming from grants?
Yes. Get people to understand that there is money for research.
So you answer the question.
I'm actually answering it.
I want a direct answer. Where do you want the money to come from?
From grant writing.
Okay.
And from partnerships. It's how you conduct research. You don't conduct research as an individual. You have to get people to work with.
Great.
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
And that's what you're doing at
KUTRH.
Making sure that research is not domiciled in one institution.
Right. No. Spread across.
You're spreading out, you have the spokes, and you can even have a hub in another place. If that's where you find that there's more work to be done.
And if you can get it to be multi-site, it's even better.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Good.
Prof, thank you very much for joining us. Professor Wangari Mwai is the Director for Training, Research and Innovation at the Kenyatta University, teaching research and Referral Hospital. She's been here alongside Dr. Onyimbo Kirama, who's the Deputy Director of Clinical Services at the same facility. We've been talking about bridging the gap in healthcare, the work that the University Hospital is doing in research, a lot of advisory services that they're also offering to national and county governments in terms of managing our healthcare. This is an important conversation that I hope you will join us sometime soon to continue on. Thank you very much for watching us also on KTN Home. We've been here since the top of the hour, but the conversations continue on SpiceFM around the country and also on YouTube and Facebook. A very good morning to you. It's now 9 a.m.
News from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. President Uhuru Kenyatta has invited politicians from Mount Kenya region for a meeting to be held at the State House in Nairobi tomorrow. Jubilee Party Secretary General Jeremiah Kioni has confirmed the meeting tomorrow, although he has said he does not know the agenda. In an interview with KTN News, Kioni, however, said he hoped that among the issues that would be highlighted was Deputy President William Ruto's move to disrespect President Kenyatta every time he gets an opportunity.
That invitation has gone out and it is to everybody. You notice I do not know the agenda. What concerns me as a person coming from the mountain, Mount Kenya region. In the last 2 days, and of course for the last 4.5 years, we've been treated to very unkind words in our region. We've been very disrespected. How can you come to the backyard of the president and start insulting him?
Now, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission has announced that KPMG will embark on auditing the voter register in the next 2 weeks after the firm won the tender out of the 4 other firms. Speaking shortly after he was sworn in as the Commission's Chief Executive Officer, Marjan Hussein Marjan said they will sign the contract with KPMG in the next 14 days. The Commission's Chairperson, Ufula Chebukati, pointed out that all procurement requirements are up to date and that the Commission is well set to deliver a free, fair, credible and verifiable election.
We've done almost all the procurements. We're now working on the register of voters, which should be ready in the next couple of days in time for audit. We have already procured an audit firm which will undertake the exercise, and thereafter we shall subject the register to Kenyans for purpose of verification of their biometrics and other details. So we are at a good place compared to where we were in the 2017 period.
Now, exiled lawyer Miguna has endorsed Deputy President William Ruto's presidential bid in the August 9th elections, saying he is far much better than Azimio la Umoja candidate Raila Odinga. Miguna, who is known not to have kind words for President Uhuru Kenyatta and his handshake brother Raila Odinga, said electing Deputy President William Ruto is the only way to end impunity in the country. Miguna was deported soon after the 2017 election, days after orchestrating the mock swearing-in of Odinga, who had lost the election to Kenyatta. He was sworn in as the people's president at an event held at Uhuru Park. Miguna also revealed unnamed individuals from Azimio la Umoja camp had approached him and asked him to support their flag-bearer Raila Odinga. Miguna has on various occasions claimed that the ODM leader betrayed him and abandoned him despite having supported him in 2017, also noting that he took part in his coronation as people's president, which led to his exile. And the Russian embassy in Kenya has dismissed reports that the country's invasion of Ukraine is to blame for the high cost of living in Kenya and across the continent. The embassy tweeted Wednesday that in response to remarks by Kenya's State House spokeswoman Ednah that fuel prices in the country were triggered by the crisis with Ukraine. Fuel prices shot up by 5 shillings Monday in what was blamed on the Russia-Ukraine crisis. The Russian embassy statement follows remarks by Ednah that the rising cost of living is not exclusive to Kenya, but a global phenomenon fueled by numerous external factors, among them the ongoing Russian-Ukraine war. Now, figures showing a global rise in COVID-19 cases could herald a much bigger problem, as some countries also reported drop in testing rates. That is according to WHO, who are now warning nations to remain vigilant against the virus. After more than a month of decline, COVID-19 cases started to increase across the world last week, with lockdowns in Asia and China's Jilin province battling to contain an outbreak. A combination of factors was causing the increases, including the highly transmissible Omicron variant and its BA2 sublineage, and the lifting of public health and social measures. WHO officials said low vaccination rates in some countries, driven partly a huge amount of misinformation, also explained the rise. New infections jumped by 8% globally compared to the previous week, with 11 million new cases and just over 43,000 new deaths reported from March 7th to 13th. It is the first rise since the end of January. Back home, the government lifted the COVID-19 protocols that has seen wearing of masks in public places become a choice. Government has, however, urged Kenyans to maintain hygiene by washing hands. Kenyans have also been urged to get inoculated against COVID-19. Now, religious leaders have continued to call on police officers to seek help in dealing with marital disputes. Charles Kiwanuke, a Catholic bishop in Kempsa, Trans Nzoia County, said that although the police officers are considered to be brave and resilient in dealing with the challenges they face, it is important to realize that they are human beings. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Sasseto. Good morning.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Creeping in slowly towards the end of traffic hour, but still some traffic in different parts of the city. We're looking at it coming out of Westlands, really heavy this morning, and it hasn't let up just yet. Off Chiromo and then going towards Wangari Maathai and then out towards the Thika Superhighway. That still continues. Coming off Kiambu Road is still doing the thing. The Thika Superhighway, we're going to see that then between the Utali Drift and the Pangani Underpass and then out towards Murang'a Road. That's where the drama is. Apart from that, Westlands issues looking a little bit better on Mombasa Road. Just at Maradime, you're going to have a slowdown just a little bit, but then you should be all right. How about we take a look in about half an hour and then see how things have changed? Yes? Then will you talk to us? Please do on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
Yes, it is. It's
the
7
only
minutes
way
after 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. The final hour of the show this morning, 17th day. Was it 17th at 8 a.m.?
It is 17th, yes. It was.
It's still going to be 17th until about 11:59 tonight.
It's one of those days.
Feels like I've been saying some different dates every time.
Actually, no. 17 has tried to be a constant today.
Oh.
It'll still be 17 in an hour. Still be 17.
So even as we leave, it will be
lunchtime.
17th of March.
Oddly enough, it'll still be Thursday.
Right.
Aye.
And if I call it about 4 p.m.,
it'll still be 17th.
Still be the 17th of March.
17th is
17th.
Yeah. Anyway, the day's proverb.
Proverb of the day, brought to you by Communications
Even the
Authority of
sharpest
Kenya.
ear cannot hear an ant singing.
Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what were they thinking when they came up with this proverb?
There are things that are beyond your ears and eyes and your normal senses, really. But doesn't mean they don't exist.
If a tree falls in the forest
enyewe.
And no one heard it. Does it mean the tree did not fall?
It fell. The tree knows it fell. That's what's important.
The animals living in the tree?
No, the tree fell. The animals living next to the tree. No. The other trees next to the tree knows this particular tree fell.
Okay. Yes, okay then.
Proverb of the Day, brought to you by Communications Authority of Kenya. Teach your kids about online threats and how to stay safe online by reporting incidences of internet misuse to ke-cirt.go.ke or call 0703 042 700. Mawasiliano kwetu.
So are you feeling better after Cipladon? Neck?
Not found. I was looking for water.
Ah.
I was ready. I even have it here. I was ready to dunk it
You're
in the water.
looking for water. When you live in Kitengela?
Ednah did me dirty, man.
You haven't found water?
Ednah.
So now we blame Ednah.
Yeah, let's blame Ednah.
She's the resident water carrier.
Let's blame Ednah.
I think we should blame
because
Putin.
I mean, the rest of the world is blaming him. We might as well.
Yeah.
I needed to take my Cipladon because you know how I overslept yesterday? And so my neck was a bit stiff. And I know that it will be able to sort out those issues for me. Like that.
So Cipladon softens the stiff necks.
Oh, see, there's pain associated with the stiff neck. What's wrong with you? The pain is what we are looking at here.
Eric, even I know it has paracetamol. Even I know.
Even you as
and
you.
I don't know very many things. Okay? So if I know, then it must have.
If you know that it has paracetamol, it must have paracetamol.
Yes.
And it works twice as fast.
You see, that's a little detail.
Yeah.
And a
paracetamol
rather
is good.
important detail.
It's
See,
good
had
for a
I
stiff
taken
neck.
it at 8:30, by now.
You know, stiff neck is stiff neck because it's painful.
That's how you know it's stiff.
Yes, because if it wasn't painful,
You're
then the
walking
stiffness
around like
would,
nothing.
the stiffness would be insignificant.
How about you just shughulika na maisha yako? You want to move your neck around because you want to pry what else is happening around you. Focus.
See me see wahala.
I mean, where did that come from?
I really wonder, my brother. I don't
Neck.
understand.
Why do you need to move your neck?
You know, neck by its very nature it was manufactured to be mobile. Okay? Look at your nose, which wasn't manufactured to be mobile.
Do you hear anybody saying they have a stiff nose?
Yes. Or they have stiff ears.
Yeah, they don't complain. See what we mushane.
I see the narrative you're trying to spin, and I will not allow you.
We hear you.
Ednah, please sort out Ndu, some water. Let her dissolve some Cipladon, 1000 mg.
So that she can dissolve
Today
the
I
pain.
have the one. I have the 500 mg that is sweetened with aspartame. That's the one I have, and I'm ready to do the business.
Okay. Okay. At least not a tooth
That did what?
that is giving you problems.
No.
You wouldn't be dealing.
Brother.
I hear toothaches. You know, I've never had the misfortune of having a toothache.
Thank God on your knees.
You see the expressway?
Yeah.
You see that drill that comes to remove the tarmac? Now imagine that in your mouth.
What? And it always happens at night.
Wallahi.
Why?
Everything has come down.
Toothaches come at night.
But why should it happen in the daytime?
I
mean, inconvenience is best at night.
I saw a joke the other day on social media.
Yeah.
Someone saying, if I were a doctor, so someone comes to me, shida iko happy? Daktari, meno inauma. Okay. Na macho iko aje? Unaona vizuri? Hiyo iko sawa. Masikio, unasikia vizuri? Hiyo iko sawa. Kwa hivyo meno inauma, macho inaona, masikio inasikia. Shida iko wapi? Shit, what's the problem?
That's how it's supposed to be.
Meno inauma.
Inafaa.
Masikio inasikia, macho inaona.
Inafaa kuuma.
What's brought you here?
You need to have a bigger problem to come here.
Today's editorial in the Standard is highlighting the issues at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, Kempsa. The Global Fund has reported that 908,000 mosquito nets, 1.1 million condoms, and tuberculosis drugs worth 10 million shillings have disappeared from the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority warehouse. Global Fund, which finances the fight against HIV and AIDS, TB and malaria, also raised the red flag over suspected fake suppliers demanding 1.66 million shillings from Kempsa. On Tuesday, the Kempsa acting CEO, John Kabushi, told MPs that the authority was staring at a 1.5 billion shillings loss because of dead stock. All these reports are an indication of fresh rot at Kempsa, which was plagued with corruption allegations last year involving procurement of COVID-19 equipment. After the expose on the corruption allegations, the president ordered a cleanup at the agency, which led to the sacking of the board, chairman and the CEO. However, the Kempsa can now report that stock worth 171.9 million shillings has expired. An additional stock worth 1.2 billion shillings set to expire in the next 6 months is a clear indication that the cleanup ordered by the president is far from achieving its objectives. It's even more worrying that medical supplies are allowed to expire in a country where most health facilities are always running short of crucial drugs and equipment. In January, Health CS Mutahi Kagwe said the ongoing cleanup is meant to end corruption, enhance efficiency, create value for Kenyans' money. Now the CS needs to give specific timelines on when the exercise is expected to end so that the agency can get back to serving Kenyans effectively. When you hear all these things, so one thing we know for sure is that the board of Kempsa was reconstituted. The management that now came into Kempsa said, we are here to clean up house. So we have many people who are from NYS and some from the military who are there because staff was sent on compulsory leave. So there's a cleanup exercise ongoing. The acting CEO is saying, yes, part of what I'm dealing with is I've got stock that's about to expire and stock that's already expired. And this is stock that we procured, has come, has not been requisitioned by the counties or whatever the reason it is, but the stocks are here. Kempsa does not procure medical supplies so that it can keep them in the store.
They're supposed to be distributed. And you'd imagine that by the time Kempsa is doing this, Kempsa has done some study and known this is what is likely to be requisitioned from the various facilities that we supply. All right? You are a distributor.
It's not even likely, Eric. It's something very specific.
You know from...
You do know.
From past experience, this is what we have seen. We've been seeing. This is what usually the fast-moving consumables, and these are the other drugs. Now, when you're dealing with some people like Global Fund, you know that they'll bring this, they want it to go into certain areas, and this is where it goes to. So you have data that informs how you're doing the procurement.
Actually, the data is even more precise, Eric, because what is required of health facilities, they are the ones who tell you what their needs are. So Kempsa knows. It's not that they don't know. You know. So that when you then distribute it, you're distributing it and measuring it against what it is that that particular health facility had said they indicated. Now, there may be a central place where they take it in the region, but there's an understanding. This particular center needed this. So if there's a shortage, they know we wanted this, we only got this, we require this more. It's very precise, it is known. It isn't a hit and miss. No. So even with regards to COVID, they normally ask, the requisitioning is part of the process where you are told this is what we will need. Not we think we will need, we will need.
Yep.
Okay? So they base their procurement on that particular knowledge. So when they tell you that they have stuff in their stores and it hasn't gone anywhere, you pause and ask, what do you mean?
Sorry.
But here's the thing, though. That staff will not leave the Kempsa warehouse unless or until that facility has actually placed the order.
The orders usually are placed in advance of this actual procurement process.
There is an indicator of what our need will be.
Yes.
And then there is an order.
Yes.
Bring XXX.
Yes.
After every 3 months, then again another requisition.
Yes.
Bring XXX.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
If the 3 months, this facility has not said bring XXX, you have an issue.
You will have an issue.
You have supplied XXX month 1, month 2, month 3, month 6. These guys haven't paid for month 1. Then you start having issues of, look, boss, you just keep asking and you're not giving me the money so that I continue operating. Because that's one of the things that we know was happening with Kempsa. Kempsa was not releasing because counties have not paid. So you have an issue there. Stuff is in the store, stuff is not moving. I'm seeing a complexity of issues.
It is a complexity.
Not for a
of
lack
issues.
of planning by Kempsa.
No.
But for some lack of coordination between Kempsa and its key stakeholder. This is the consumer
if you think
of
about
Kempsa's
it, Eric,
services.
You've hit a nerve center there in the sense that it goes even beyond Kempsa itself, and it even goes beyond the customers or the clients that Kempsa has. Because the very functions of Kempsa, if we look at it from the very simplest perspective, there shouldn't be a possibility that there are supplies sitting in their warehouses and they haven't been taken where they're supposed to go. Especially if you consider the relationship that Kempsa has with the Ministry of Health. It's something that can be sorted out. Monies that go to the devolved function of health within the counties ostensibly comes from the national government. I'm saying this because the MES arose from this very same understanding. The national government determines what it is that you need or with you together, and then they deduct from source. So by the time you're getting your money, whatever you're supposed to have paid for this equipment has already been deducted. What am I trying to say? The government has mechanisms of ensuring that Kempsa gets paid, even if the county governments are derelict. Why? Because before money gets to the counties, it's with the national government.
Sure. With what's happening with Kempsa now, I don't think what we're even looking at is a payment issue. With what they're talking about, the amounts of, it was 2.1 billion shillings is what would probably go up in smoke, right? Because the stock has not been picked up.
And it's expiring.
A majority of it has expired. It will expire. Some of it has already expired, right? The majority of which will expire in a very short period of time. I think this is a lack of coordination completely. Because they are now having discussions with counties about, will you take this? Will you be able to offload this? Will you be able to pick up this? And what Mary Mwadime says is that in the next few weeks or so, they're hopeful to get answers from counties across board of those who will pick up some of the stock. My question is, did they have to wait until the time where they saw that shelf life is coming to a close before having these conversations? Were they conversations that they had in the past and nobody really listened to them? Because if it happens now, like we said, you're coming to the end of a budget cycle, right? Fiscal year, there are 3 months left, right? 2.5 there. If this happens every time, and look at the amounts that we're talking about. If this stock goes up in smoke, somebody's paid for it. Somebody has already paid for it. The money has already been spent. And then nobody picks it up. What happens to it? And why does it have to happen? For me, it's not that we had the issues whereby counties previously would pick up stock from Kempsa and then there would be a delay in payment, right? But in this case, there has been no communication in terms of, we have this stock available. Will you guys then pick it up? And it's like, okay, since we've seen that we're in a bit of a spot, let's talk to county, the normal go-to folks who can then pick it up from us if they need it. But there is no call of need from counties. Had there been, you wouldn't have this problem. Counties have not been saying, these things that you have, we actually need them. So where did the first slip-up happen?
I think this is something that happens all the time. And this is where, when you talk about proper management of our health systems, this is key among them. And it's key there because from reading these stories, I am seeing a case here where Kempsa is being left with dead stock by counties that did not buy. And counties ought to have bought. Counties ought to have off-taken these supplies from Kempsa. They didn't. We have heard from very many people across the country saying they go to county facilities, public health centers. They're told, we don't have medicine. They're told, you have to come with the gloves. Kempsa here is saying, but we have gloves that are expiring. Who takes from Kempsa? The counties. So why is it that the counties are not been taking from Kempsa? Because we know for sure they haven't. People have been going to hospital.
And they couldn't get
they
something
are not,
as
they are told,
basic as painkiller.
Come with your own gloves. Alafu enda pale ununue dawa.
Which also tells us that for sure we know they haven't paid Kempsa.
Yes.
There is no other reason why.
But the time, remember a couple of months ago, when the health CS was pleading with Kempsa, it's okay, guys. We understand that counties owe you a lot of money. Please
supply.
just supply them, and then counties will pay. There's an issue here. And Kempsa is the one that is left here with egg on its face and dead stock. Holding the baby. If counties were saying, we have been requisitioning from Kempsa and the Kempsa does not have anything. If Kempsa was saying, our stores are empty, now we'd be pointing at Kempsa and saying, boss, you only have one job.
Do it.
Global procurement, bring here, use economies of scale to make it cheaper for our counties to access. You have failed on that. Now, Kempsa has not failed on that. They have the stuff in their store. The people who should be getting from their stores are not getting from their stores. Why?
And they've had them for a while.
Yes.
And yet, while Kempsa has stock that was threatening to expire and some of which have now expired, counties were going without these necessary products that they needed. So, you're right. What does it point to? You know, I'm going to take the discussion even further. When we look at just what was applied, and then you look at what it is that was already paid for, we know that in many of these instances, the things that are lying idle, going bad in the Kempsa stores have been paid for. I want to ask the question of, do the counties have an alternate procurement system for themselves? Are there ways in which they procure whatever it is that they need for their health care services other than through Kempsa? The reason I'm asking this question is this. The problems that we've had within Kempsa has had nothing to do with the simple and straightforward way of procuring what is needed. No, that is a very simple process. It's not complicated. It is complicated when interests come in. And I'm asking the question, do we have similar interests in the county system? Because if the county governments get money for the budgets that they have outlined, even if the money is delayed, at some point they get the money. So how do you explain them not having paid for things that they have received? Not they're about to receive. They've already
received and consumed.
Yes. How do you explain it? Because Kempsa are not unreasonable. They're not saying, pay before we give you. We have given you and you have not paid. So why should we give you more?
There's something going on here as to why counties are not taking off from Kempsa, right? And it could be many things, but until we know, and this is the part of it that is not coming out, and Kempsa is not saying it either. And I have an idea that I have a feeling that Kempsa has an idea as to why they're not picking it up. Previously, the issue was that they just didn't have enough money to pay because the previous ones that had been supplied had not been paid for whatever reason. Money delayed coming from National Treasury to be able to sort out county issues, etc., etc. But here seems to be a little bit more complicated than that. And that's where I think this is probably something. Because we don't hear the outcry currently that we did months ago when people were going to hospital and were not able to get.
No, they got used to it.
So do we still have the situation where people
yes.
are walking into county today, there are no gloves, bring your own?
Yes. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago when we opened up the phone lines and people are telling us this is what they're experiencing? I think people just got used to it. You go to a public facility, there's one thing or the other you'll be told we don't have.
So that's where the stink becomes a little bit more heavy, because if the situation is still like that on the ground, and these things are available at the national distributor stroke supplier, but the counties through which they're supposed to pass through are still not taking them up, and it's not a money issue. If it is not a money issue anymore, why is this happening in this way? Is there somebody who is stifling this process, is stifling this flow across the country? It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. And then here we are saying that stock is dead. Some of it will go up in smoke. Others, we are now begging counties to take it and pay for it.
And then there's stock that has disappeared, according to Global Fund.
So what is it? There's some stock that has disappeared.
Condoms, TB, drugs, and 980,000 mosquito nets.
It was given to Kempsa.
900,000 mosquito nets have disappeared.
And it was given to Kempsa.
Yes. It's being supplied by Global Fund through Kempsa.
Through Kempsa. Where did it go? Can Kempsa answer?
You know, my grandfather, my paternal grandfather used to say that in his experience, money doesn't get lost. It's people who take it. And I'm going to add, in my experience,
Mosquito nets?
Don't get lost. It's people who take it.
Sheesh,
So,
man.
this thing of trying to figure out who took it, they know who took it. I'm not, that rabbit hole, I'm not traveling to. An organization like that, start with, first of all, did the nets actually arrive? Just start there. Physically. Because
were there nets?
Yes, or was it just an exchange of documents?
You know, if that's what you're saying, we
Well,
can
there
also
are
ask the
1.1
question,
million
CT,
condoms.
is there actually dead stock?
Is there Kempsa?
But I asked
Ask
yesterday.
the question.
No, that I asked
Is
yesterday.
there actually dead stock? Is there actually stock that has expired? Is there stock that will go up in
I
smoke?
asked that
You must
question,
ask.
yes. But why have I been quiet about it? Because I said my piece yesterday. As far as I'm concerned, we are sanitizing a situation that has existed. And dead stock is the explanation for sanitizing it.
And we'll say we have to. So now, because the thing is, are you actually going to be present? You see Muga standing looking when people incinerate this thing.
I will hold my peace when the media is called.
And we can see the
And
billows
they are
of
shown-
smoke.
No. Before the
way
bill,
the way we were shown when elephant tusks were burnt, right?
Those billows
can even be
forget.
paper.
They can be burning plastic
Listen,
bottles.
there was public demonstration of a cocaine hall from Malindi being incinerated. People still said, "Yo, Nyunga."
Yeah, precisely. Now, I am saying, drugs, see, there's a process. You can take the media to see and inspect, and they'll say, anyway, we have seen. Okay? Now, let's follow this process of incineration. You take it. There's a semblance of reality. You say, you know something? To Leona, at least. Huh? In the Kenyan sense of at least, meaning angalau.
Angalau mimi.
Yes, so sisi tuko tu at least hapo. We saw it, all right? But this one, suddenly we are being told that these things are about to expire.
Or have expired.
Some have expired.
Or we have no choice but in the next few
some are
months
dead
to
stock.
get rid of them.
Yeah, we are sanitizing a situation. That was my view yesterday. It is still my view today.
Why would a new acting person be sanitizing a situation that he has just inherited?
Because this new acting person isn't there just acting on his own. There are people who decided he should act. This whole Kempsa thing was not about the chairman and about the former
acting
MD.
CEO.
No. It's about very many people.
People who are pulling the puppet strings, you will never see them.
And they haven't gone anywhere.
So the reforms at Kempsa, what
Which
you're
ones?
saying are...
What reforms?
Wait. Which reforms are you talking about that happened?
We're changing the board.
Oh,
That's
the
a
one that
reform.
Some 900 people were sent to go home.
The president has talked about reforms in Kempsa.
Oh.
The health CS has talked about the reforms in Kempsa.
Have talked about the
Yes.
reform. Which one?
We have seen people being sent home.
Yeah,
we
we
have
have.
seen NYS people coming in.
Yes, we have.
We have seen the suspension of procurement boss, the former CEO. There's
So
a new
now
acting
these reforms
CEO.
have actually changed the process. Imagine, with all of
But
that.
that was the whole point
Nisawa.
of coming in, so that you have new people who
It's
set
okay.
up,
Now, with all
streamline
of
the
those
system.
wonderful, beautiful things that you've talked
In
about.
streamlining the system, they
What
realize,
difference? See,
by
Oga?
the way, there's talk here that is part of streamlining the system.
Excuse me, please.
So the
With all those beautiful things that have happened and you tie it with ribbon and make it spit and shine very nice, we are still talking about the same thing even after the reforms. I have to agree. That the people who have been pulling the strings have not gone anywhere.
It's not after the reforms.
If you want, go and bring Angel Gabriel and put him
Or it's
there.
while the reforms were going on.
It is mid-reforms. It's mid-reforms.
So when the reforms finish, when we'll see an end to this kind of thing?
Yes.
Eric, let me put it a little clearer. Whoever is in that position is just continuing with the system. There is really nothing that is changing. Forget this story of this change coming about. What change? When change comes about, one usually sees it. It's not something you need to have faith
They don't
in.
need to come and tell you.
Something
You'll
you see.
it.
So the person is acting. May he continue, may she
to act.
continue acting. There's a new board. Thank you. It's good. We have a
Send
new board.
people home. Very good.
Since when was sending people home a solution to problems within government institutions or
You still see
parastatals?
the same thing
What?
happening. Somebody comes and tells you there is dead stock and you say,
If
in
you
fact,
told
it's
me
true.
they sent everybody home,
Including
everyone,
the acting plus
literally
non-acting.
everybody, I would say, okay.
I
Then,
sit up
then
and take
after saying
notice.
okay, then I would say, okay. So now they brought this whole bunch of people who know nothing. My friend, think,
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I hope you don't believe that a hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making his a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kanu, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes, but the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Madare, presidential tour. Yeah? And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the enemy says, oh, hata wewe kuna jina kama yangu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Clouds are up in Nairobi, 22, highs of 29 and lows of 15. It's sunny at 21 in Nakuru. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 14. 12 will be the low in a sunny Nyeri at 19, going to highs of 29. And Eldoret will be sunny throughout today, highs of 26 and lows of 13. It's raining in parts of Mombasa at 29, highs of 32 and lows of 25. Malindi is sunny at 28. We'll see highs of 32 and lows of 26. It's raining in Kisumu at 25. It'll go to highs of 29, while Kakamega will see highs of 28 and lows of 16. Cloudy conditions in Kampala at 23, highs of 28 and lows of 20. Looking at light rain now in Dar es Salaam at 29, highs of 32 and lows of 27, while Lagos is sunny at 26. We'll see highs of 33 and lows of 26. Cloudy conditions in Johannesburg at 14, highs of 19 and lows of 11, while Kinshasa is sunny at 24, highs of 32 and lows of 24. Okay, there are things called snow showers, and it's happening in Beijing now, -1, highs of 3 and lows of -2. It's cloudy at 8 in Paris, highs of 14 and lows of 4. Sunny conditions at 4 in London. We'll see highs of 15, and coming into Thursday, New York will see highs of 12, currently clear at 8.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life.
Okay, getting out of traffic hour in a few minutes, and it looks like it'll happen for some time still on Mombasa Road today. We'll see traffic then going out and inbound around the Maradime, but the Southern Bypass looks pretty good, and there's your option for getting into the city. Much better on the Thika Superhighway, coming off Kiambu Road, much better as well. Things are getting down to a dull roar. Shouldn't be too bad after this. Talk to us through the morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Okay, the conversation continues. That's 23 minutes to 10. 0719-012-600. What I'm hearing from my colleagues this morning is that they don't really trust that there is any meaningful reform that's taking place at the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, right? Is that what I'm hearing you say? Yes or no?
No.
That's not what I'm hearing you say.
Oh, that's what you're hearing, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's yes what I'm hearing, and no, I don't believe this.
You don't believe?
Yes.
Even the editorial in the Standard says the CS needs to give specific timelines on when the exercise is expected to end so that the agency can get back to serving Kenyans effectively. A national agency such as Kempsa is charged with the responsibility of protecting the country's resources. Therefore, for it to abet such waste, it means it's not worth being in place anymore. If we cannot see the fruits of the cleanup, then the government could as well just do an overhaul of the authority. The government needs to know the country expects it to do the right thing, and the people will not tire from reminding it to do its job, the right thing.
So while we're having this discussion about the right thing, let's bring in other institutions that are part and parcel of this process.
Such as?
Oversight. Senate. That's what it's called. Senate. Okay? Now, when you talk about monies being given to the county governments for purposes of ensuring that healthcare services are provided in the respective counties, what does oversight mean if we do not ensure and we don't have a report of that money or those monies actually going to what they are purposed for? If Kempsa is saying they haven't been paid, it is clear that monies that were meant for paying these debts were not used for paying the debts. So where on earth did these monies go to? Because money is given for these things.
Excuse me.
And I'm asking the Senate this because, and it also begs the question, and I'm beginning to ask myself the question, why is it that suddenly, all of a sudden, many former soon-to-be would have been or would be governors, why do they want to become senators?
But...
Yes, but...
Even before it gets to the Senate, because the Senate will be consuming the Auditor General's reports.
Yes.
The Senate will also be consuming reports from the Controller of Budget. There are other checks. The Controller of Budget basically is that. It's what is the approved budget of this county. Now you want to spend X amount of money, you want to pay this and the other. Is it what has been budgeted for? And that's why the Controller of Budget, before any money is paid out by the county, Controller of Budget has to sign off. So there are all those checks and balances.
I'm not touching those ones. You know why?
Why?
For the simple reason that what they do is usually in the public domain, and we have a clear idea of what it is that they have done. They have looked at the budgets, they've done due diligence, they've said, this is what I think, this is what I don't think, this is what I don't like. And as you correctly put it, the Senate then consumes it and then calls people to come and explain the usual issues about audit queries and them bringing queries on those audit queries. That I get. But what we're discussing here is an epidemic. It's not a small problem. Counties not having sufficient healthcare products to ensure that the health of the citizens are actually taken care of. Monies having been given to the counties to and for, among other things, to ensure that these services are provided. Now, you're telling me that we're now having a discussion, or the discussion has been brought about by goods that are within the warehouses of Kempsa, which are about to expire, they're about to this, they're things which we know counties need. So, if we're having the debate and talking about the Ministry of Health and their role, unfortunately, or no, that as it is also then has to bring in the discussion of the people who are charged with oversight. Now, oversight for county business in general, Senate. So,
are there... let's phrase this question. Do you trust the process of reforming the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority?
No.
0719-012-600. Because the process has started. It started last year with the announcement of that process by the president. We saw the disbandment of the board. We saw a new board being appointed by the president and the CS for Health. We have also heard the new chairperson of Kempsa saying, when we've come in, we are looking at how operations are running here, and for us to understand and to get to the bottom of things, we want some people to go and work from home for a while. We bring in some, for continuity purposes of the services that we offer, some officers shall come from NYS to help in the day-to-day running, but then we are understanding the situation. With all those things happening, we are still hearing issues at Kempsa. We are still hearing, there is dead stock. We're still hearing audit reports by agencies that support Kempsa, like the Global Fund, saying, there were supposed to be some 900,000 mosquitoes. They have disappeared. Some 1.1 million condoms, they have disappeared. So what reforms are we talking about? And I think I see what the editorial in the Standard is saying. Without timelines, it's just like this Big Four thing. Saying, we are reforming Kempsa. So what is the nature and form of the reforms? And by when?
Yes.
And what are the milestones in the journey towards a fully reformed Kempsa?
We had a health conversation between 8 and 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Some of the issues that we are looking at here hinge directly on processes like this. that we've talked about, whether you want to talk about research, whether you want to talk about communication, the delivery of health services, insurance for Kenyans, low and affordable screening, it doesn't matter. So then you have an agency which is tasked with the responsibility of putting across these supplies, which are very much needed across the country, right? Now, what is reform by definition? That you will have an overhaul of your processes and start to practice and behave in a way that you were not before. That your processes now are streamlined, they are transparent, they are accountable. You, as individuals who are sitting in those positions, as groups or associations, are also accountable. To me, that is what reform is. You cannot say that we have a problem because there is rot. So all you're doing is taking the same rot and transferring it into a different vessel. It doesn't change anything. Who is looking at the streamlining of processes? I can understand that you're not going to have an abracadabra moment where you swish around a magic wand and then it's Tuesday and then it becomes Wednesday and then everything is running smoothly. I get that. But are we looking at the real reasons behind what caused the mess in the first place? Are there individuals who are pulling strings for things to happen in the manner in which they're happening? I don't think there's a reform of processes happening right now. I think what there is an exercise that is showing people that maybe we are doing something without casting the light on where the real issues are. I think there's an exercise here to let people know, okay, actually,
it's a smoke screen.
We said we're going to do something, let's show you that we are doing something. Meanwhile, the problem is still there, staring you in the face.
Eric, remember?
And we all know where the problem is.
I mean.
Remind me after we hear from Lydia.
I will.
Lydia, good morning.
Good morning, SpiceFM. Thank you for your good debate. I wanted to say that, drugs and all have expiry date, but it is sad to burn them. I think these expired drugs should be given to the universities who are doing research. That means if you had a headache and you used this expired tablet and your headache has been cured, why burn the drug? Like I have aspirin and I know the date has expired, but why should I throw it out? If I have a headache, I still have it. It helps. These are not like fruits that can rot completely. They should not be wastage as such. And then another thing is, I call my blood cells, they are like samaki, fish. They take food all over my body. They take the waste away as sweat, urine, and toilet. And if now I take one blood cell, like say if you are that one blood cell and I push tablets in your mouth, or I push fruits, mango, banana in your mouth, which do you prefer? Fruits. So when we wake up in the morning, I drink warm water, fruits to enter my bloodstream, and then the chapati, mandazi, ugali, that goes afterwards. And I never feel sick. For so many years, I've never seen a doctor. I don't feel sick.
Lydia, but when it comes to expired drugs,
yes,
the pharmaceutical companies that do the research, come up with a particular drug, they've also done the research and known. But when we say that this drug expires at this point, this is what we mean, the efficacy of the active ingredients and all, and then the harm that it's likely to have. So this is already, it's by the researchers, the experts in the pharmaceutical industry who understand, actually, those pharmacists who know, by the time we say that this one expires and then do not use it, it's because it now stops being useful, it starts being harmful. So it's important to follow their
I agree with you, but the pharmacy is the one who sells to you. So that is wrong. But universities can use this and measure that this person cannot afford, cannot pay even a shilling. So try this and let's see whether you will be okay.
So you're calling for further research on it.
Yeah. But pharmacies who have to sell to you, that's wrong to give you an expired drug.
Okay, we hear you. Thank you very much, Lydia.
Thank you.
Good day. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Do you trust that the reforms at Kempsa will bear fruit. So far, we have seen several changes being announced at Kempsa. And then as that is going on, the acting management of Kempsa is summoned to Parliament. And the acting CEO says, I'm actually holding some stock that's about to expire. I have some dead stock worth several millions of shillings. There's still some work that's still going on. In fact, today's editorial cartoon by Gado has a door. Looks like it's locked. Okay? There's no wall around it. And the Kempsa CEO is behind the door. And he's saying he's holding a briefcase and says, look, I can explain. I can explain how things are getting lost here. Despite the door being shut.
This door without walls. Huh?
Yeah.
You see, the thing, I think we must also disabuse ourselves from the notion that reforms don't work. Reforms, if carried out properly, work. There are examples of them the world over, even here in the country. Reforms, if carried out properly, work. Not this smokescreen window dressing that we see, fire a bunch of individuals, send another one. The people who've been sent home, for example, in these processes, in this dragnet that we see, you tell me, where are they involved? The clerk, the individual, the officer who is sitting at home now thinking, okay, so now what happens? You tell me where they're involved in all of this. A letter was written, somebody passed it. You tell me, because we're looking at an intricate network web of drama happening here. And then you're saying, okay, you know what we ought to do? These worker bees, remove them. Meanwhile, the queen bee is in the middle of the hive. What are we doing?
We want a new breed. Ali in Garissa, good morning.
Good morning, my brother Eric Latiff. How are you?
Very well.
City Muga, Mr. City Muga, and Madam Du. I also.
We are very well, thank you, sir. And how are you?
I am very fine. Garissa today is very cool. We are enjoying the cool weather.
It's cool at how many degrees, my friend?
In the morning it is very cool, but around 12 we will be scorching.
In a boiler.
In a boiler. Let me say this. Yesterday I was very perturbed by that story. People at Kempsa stealing condoms, TB drugs. It is very unfortunate, by the way. And I heard you talking about reforms in Kempsa. You know, my brother Eric, our government is very good at coming up with reforms. But those reforms, they need first to be implemented, and after implementation, we need enforcement.
Yes.
Also, we live in a country that is reeling under a deep moral decadence. Everybody who has a position to steal money wants to steal so that he or she becomes a billionaire overnight. And that's why people have no qualms stealing drugs meant for TB failed patients. Condoms. Imagine that is now that's where we are as a country. So my suggestion is that we can come with a bucket of reforms. We can come with a lot of reforms. But as long as we don't have a chairman, even the chairman may collude with the junior officers to perpetrate this theft. You may never know. So, in the next dispensation, because this country, we have cried so much, we have cried many days. So, in the next government, whether it is Raila or Ruto, please let us elect a president who is going to be firm, ruthless on these corrupt people who have even the audacity to steal drugs meant for TB people. Please, that's my suggestion, because we have done everything. Kama ni reforms tumekuja nayo, tumefanya kila kitu. So what is now? We need an accountable government that will hold these people to account, take them to prison, so that they can act a deterrent to other people who want to steal these things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you very much. The new administration that comes in has its work cut out. Should we see a proper takeover by the military at Kempsa?
Add it to the list, eh?
Just add it to the list. Because instead of this thing of saying, we have a board and then we shall have some 2 or 3 military officers coming in procurement, and then I don't know who from NYS, this and that. How about you just say, okay, military come in, 2 years.
Sort this thing out.
Yes.
The military is a suggestion, yes, but they're not the only entity that can be brought in. every time we have problems within government parastatals, they've always brought in receiver managers.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the background of these receiver managers, they work for either auditing firms, they work for organizations who have a reputation to maintain. So when they bring in these people, these are people who are actually going to do due diligence. Because these aren't really the employers per se. So when they stop working here, they are still going to need to go back to their work. So the likelihood of them playing hanky-panky or inky-pinky-ponky is, should we say, minimized. But if you're telling me that it involves bringing in individuals who have worked maybe in a state corporation, who have worked somewhere else, look, they may be very well intentioned. They may even decide and mean to do well. But the systems that exist within these government entities are beyond an individual and even a new board coming in. They'll run circles around these individuals. Literally, they will run circles around these people. They will give them the information that they think they need. There'll be a semblance of change
There's order.
There'll be a semblance. It can even be there for a year. But all they will have done is change the tact of doing the business that they were doing before. So on the face of it, it appears like there's some change taking place.
There'll be a new look.
Yes. But in essence, business is actually still going on as it was before.
As it was before?
Yes.
So we'll call it new Kempsa.
Call it even new improved Kempsa if you like. I mean, call it whatever it is that you want. Remember, we thought procurement was the problem, and then government procurement officers in the entire government were sent home. Okay. You take away the procurement person, okay, and their deputy, and who else? Tell them to go home, and then what happens? Government entities still need to procure. Business still needs to go on. So you think that the knowledge that these fellows who have gone home was nestled only in them, that other people don't understand what should happen. What you've done is create an opportunity for other people to now do what other people were doing. The problem is never solved by simply changing people at the helm. Once in a while we get it right, and you get an individual or group of individuals who actually genuinely want to see change. And when you do, you actually do see change, actually. You actually see, you say, oh goodness, you mean to tell me things are actually changing here? And when you say things are changing, it's because you see it, not you're told about it. We had changes in Kenya Power. Hey, that committee, that board met. My goodness, they met.
Yeah, to implement change.
And
to
they
discuss
implement.
change.
My goodness, did they not have board meeting?
Yeah.
It was almost literally every single day. Now, okay. And the change that we've seen coming about as a result of those meetings is what exactly? When they were then kicked out.
Profitability.
Yes, when they were then kicked out, and somebody. So, what I'm trying to say is this. The cosmetic process of trying to bring about change by simply changing the board doesn't quite cut it.
So what should we do? I mean, we're talking about.
No.
So we want Kempsa to not have this kind of. Or does Kempsa actually have a problem? Maybe the problem is not at Kempsa.
Kempsa doesn't have a problem. Kempsa is just an entity. How can it have a problem? Entities don't have problems. They're inanimate objects.
Are there problems at Kempsa?
No, there are problems with individuals who work at Kempsa, and it's manifested in the organization.
Are there problems with individuals who work at Kempsa?
Oh, yes, there is. Huge. Huge.
Are we sure?
I'm positive. I'm positive.
I get a sense that that's not where the problem is.
Oh, no. The problem is elsewhere, but there's also a problem at Kempsa. They're not absolved. That's the point I'm trying to make. They don't get a free pass on this one.
Yeah, but
the things that happen in Kempsa cannot happen unless
they are victims of these other circumstances from elsewhere.
No, they're not victims. They're participants.
Oh, come on, man.
Unwilling participants.
Yes, they're not unwilling. They're not unwilling. When was the last time you heard whistleblowers coming out from Kempsa? When?
It's 11, like now, this acting CEO is whistleblowing. What do you call what he's doing? That's whistleblowing. Look, let's talk.
That's not whistleblowing. That is saving your own hide.
Because you know you will not bear the responsibility for why 1, 2, 3 happened. So you say, look, It's dead.
When
There's
you
nothing
when
we
you
can
brought
do
me
with it.
here, these things were
You
already here. I didn't bring
when
them.
you put me to act,
Yeah.
these things were here.
And
I'm just basically telling you that we've had communication with the counties. We're asking them to take.
That
In
is
the
blowing
event
a
that
whistle.
they do not take, we have to get rid of them. And by the way, some of it has already expired, just so you know. So that you don't come to me tomorrow and ask me many questions. I'm just telling you.
And so that you
This
get
is
it
the
clear,
situation.
we're giving you a value, net Kenya shilling value of the
2.1.
things. Yes.
Please, let's understand ourselves.
Mm.
And 100 million shillings of that is already expired.
Completely gone.
Please, just
Finished.
understand.
So, you
Sir?
just go. We are finishing. Okay. Go get some water.
I did the thing, man.
Oh, you
See
did?
the way I'm moving my neck vigorously.
It worked.
I'm telling you.
Cipladon, 500 mgs,
Inside
water.
I even thought at some point you heard it doing Did you hear? Drank it.
No, me, I saw it doing.
You saw it?
You saw?
I saw.
And then
She actually consumed the water in some like 3 gulps.
So what are you trying to say? I see you from very far, City Muga.
Cipladon works. That's what you're saying. City, the day's proverb?
Yes. Okay. Even the sharpest ear cannot hear an ant singing. And it is ear before hear. So don't get it confused.
Even the sharpest
ear, not hear,
cannot hear
an
ant singing here.
Yeah.
Have a good day. It's 10 o'clock.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, has told of politicians who have